Hello, you're listening to the Eric McKenna Project.
Excited. My ding's off.
You suck! I'm sorry. That's going to go down as a classic moment in my life.
That shit hurt my feelings. I mean, he wasn't wrong.
You suck!
Oh, my God.
He said, I was scarred from
It hurt my feelings.
He said it was a low point in his life.
a low point in your life. Okay, the squad has reconvened. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us back.
So much fun last time. And
We
it was
have an official name
so
now.
well. Yeah, you are the squad. Y'all are the squad. Well, you are the squad because I appreciate the fact that you want to continue to do this.
Yeah.
You know, I realized right away. It didn't take more than a couple of days before I realized, based upon where the show was going and who was listening and the response, and people thought it was really interesting and funny, really funny. Some moments more than others, probably.
We're looking at you, Jack.
We're looking at you. So yeah, here we are, cruising through February.
We're almost at the end.
Almost at the end.
I said earlier today, I was like, February is the longest short little month.
That's what I said. It's the shortest month, but it feels the longest.
That's the truth.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
We need to bring your microphone closer too.
Yeah.
Here, hold on.
Stick it in your face hole.
You guys want a cookie?
Yeah, let's start with a cookie.
Yeah, let's start this
All
off
right.
with cookies.
We're going to open Misfortune Cookies.
It's called the Misfortune Cookie, which
Yeah.
is pretty much symptomatic of this entire show.
It's misfortunate for sure. Okay, toss it. Oh, geez.
All right,
Sorry.
can't
Oh,
break
no,
anything.
there's already misfortune.
A Misfortune Cookie,
Start this
They're
off. Oh my God,
black.
this is so cute.
and it's black.
I'm taking a picture of this. I know, I'm not
That's
supposed to
a
have my phone
ghoulish
out
little
on
character
camera.
on there, isn't it?
Yeah, and then I think they all have different characters on there.
Aw, he's so cute.
Mine's
Yeah,
a
mine's
cat.
like a teddy bear.
Mine's some kind of
Something.
monster.
Mine's a cat.
A cat.
Yeah, it looks like an angry little cat, too.
I don't know what the fuck this thing is. What is that?
I don't even know what that is. I don't know what mine is though either. Mine's got like weird little ears and stuff.
Oh, and the cookie's black too.
Yeah.
Everyone listening, they just hear crinkle, crinkle, crinkle.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. You gotta crack it. I don't know. If
Oh,
the camera
crack the
picked that
cookie.
up. Yeah, I heard yours.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, here it is.
Is it gonna turn my teeth black if I eat it?
I was about to say, I just
wait
know
a
this is
second.
going to turn
Look at
out black. I just know it.
Splendid. Oh, and of course I left my reading glasses in the other room, of course, you know, so I
I'll
can't-
read yours.
I was
if you
about to say,
want.
we can do
Yeah.
it for you.
Sorry.
Okay, somebody go first.
Punished by life and now by a cookie too.
That's pretty messed up.
What's yours say, Jer?
Mine's pretty disheartening. For you, tomorrow is another day of you can't win them all. Or any at all.
That's a long.
I know.
That was wordy for a fortune. Mine says your future was always better in the old days.
Mine says, what's in the cards for you? Breakdowns and breakups.
Oh,
That one was
painful.
That's
Ouch.
painful. That's painful. Yeah, and the cookie's black. Is it
Yeah.
chocolate?
No.
I don't know, but it's good.
That is pretty good.
Does it taste like a fortune cookie too? Is it going to turn our mouths black? I was like, I just know
I don't
this
know.
is going to turn our
I have
teeth
my
black.
phone out so I can look. No, it's not bad.
Have you
Okay.
seen that that toothpaste called Mud? The ads for
Yeah,
that?
yeah. I think Jonna has that. She has like some kind of like tooth, like powder or something. No, hers isn't black though. Hers is like a different color.
Wait, you talking? I
But I
think
know what you're talking about.
people are literally using charcoal.
Yeah, charcoal.
I guess.
Yeah.
Crumb.
My last guest was in here that she said that there's a thing on the internet, on YouTube, of a group of people who record themselves eating, and it's a thing.
Yeah,
Which
that
just freaks-
ASMR or whatever.
Right,
Yeah, people
right,
fall
right.
asleep to it and
Like
everything.
mukbang.
Wait, what?
Trailer trash Tammy.
Wait, what? Oh, what?
Oh, okay. We're talking about something else.
Wait,
Enlighten me.
Wow.
You want to take this one, Jer?
I'm not sure where to start on that one.
What was the first name that you said?
Mukbang?
just even him saying it is
What
fun.
is that?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to explain. Anybody listening who knows what it is,
Feel free to hop in the comments.
I'm
and
not sure how to explain
Leave
it.
links.
I don't think anybody gets naked, but it's sort of like a sexual eating thing. Mm-hmm. It's people who get off on watching other people eat. Mm-hmm. There's eaters and feeders. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This isn't for obese people. The obese thing.
I don't think
That
it's
was a thing for
I
a
don't think
while,
it's
right?
exclusive, but that's like part
It's
of
included.
it. Yeah. There'll be like chicks who get down with pizzas and stuff, you
Yeah.
know, dressed in scantily clad clothing.
Okay, we went there. So let's go there. We're here. So
We've arrived.
We're gonna go off topic a little bit real quick. Just and I'm gonna dance around this because I don't want to offend anybody. Actually, I don't care.
You know what? Wait, it's just
No, go ahead.
the funny part about this is
Go ahead.
that now we all have black mouths from eating
I know.
these
I was
cookies.
about to say, did it turn black?
Stick your tongue out.
That's awesome.
So we're going to talk about mukbang with black mouths, just because we were eating punishing cookies.
I know.
Well,
Anyway, continue.
No, yeah, now I'm really messed up. So
Mine made me sad.
A while back on VH1, is my mouth all black? Seriously,
It
Your
is.
lips are a little
All
bit
of
black.
us.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of ours is though.
splendid,
Yeah, it's exciting.
resplendent. There was a thing where there was people that fell in love with their spouses, but they had to be morbidly obese. It was on VH1 a while ago. Is that a thing? Have you seen that?
I think everything's a thing.
I was about to say.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If
there's
you-
very few things that aren't a thing.
Yeah, if it exists, then someone
Well,
is into it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the whole show's the premise was that, and it wasn't specific to a gender. There was some really big men and some really, skinny women, and vice versa. But the whole show was about the partner was on a mission to feed the other one
Mukbang.
to to gargantuan sizes.
Can we do the Pee Wee Herman thing where there's a word of the day? And anytime somebody
Yes.
says it, everybody.
Here we go. We're off and running.
You know, I think if Oreos became a person, I'd get married. Do it. I'd
You
do it.
are always eating Oreos.
I
will
know.
say.
Oreos
You have
became a
Oreo
person.
accessories, which
Yeah.
nobody else I know has.
You know what? Somebody bought that for me too. My godson bought that for me. That's how bad it is. He bought me like a dunking kit, like you. That way you can dunk your Oreos, and there's tools.
But didn't
to
they
do
start
it.
messing with the original recipe? They were there's chocolate Oreos and the holidays, and they're like mint Oreos. And
Yeah,
all
mint
this
I like the
Oreos
mint
are good.
Oreos. Yeah, I'm gonna take up for mint Oreos
I will say
and
I bought
double stuff Oreos.
Oh yeah,
double stuff is probably the best, just because it's like regular, but it has more. The only thing is, I did.
regular, but it has more.
It has more.
That's gonna be the essence of this show. It's regular, but it has more.
A little extra. I did buy the Lady Gaga Oreos though, and they just have this like Play-Doh taste to them. I wanted to like them.
are they blue or something?
They're like pink,
Oh,
like pinkish wafers and green cream, and they
Oh,
just
no.
they have this
No.
like food coloring taste.
pink and green together. Even though like aesthetically is very pleasing, when you mix them together in a food form, it's just gonna turn brown.
All right, well, let me tell you what I did last night. I saw it on TikTok that you
no.
could
That was the mistake number one.
you could crush up Oreos in a mug, and then put a little bit of milk in it, mix it up until it's like real gross looking, but then you put it in the microwave for like a minute and it turns into like mug cake. So I was like, I gotta try it. So I did. And it was pretty good.
Oh,
I do it again.
this is the first of many.
Yeah, I do it again. So
I just made mug cakes a couple weeks ago because Jerry was looking
Yeah.
at me randomly on a Sunday and was like, "Do we have any cake?"
It's a fair
I mean,
question.
it's not. Let's say it's not unreasonable in our house that we might have cake.
My
but
kids used to eat that. It was like cake that had cookies crumbled in there, and then there was like those worms, those
The dirt.
gummy worms.
dirt. Yeah.
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 And I used to want to just, as soon as I said I want to
so
hurl,
good.
man. They're just diving into this stuff. It's all over their face. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. it's good
Dad,
stuff.
you want some? No, Dad don't want any.
I like gummy worms and I like cake, but I kind of like enjoy them separately.
Yeah. It's more for like the
Aesthetic.
yeah.
How do you
yeah.
rectify that, like the chocolate thing with the fruit flavors? How do you
It's
use
just
your
for
mind
fun.
rectify?
Yeah, I
That's
think it's
really
just,
just
for
for
looks,
fun.
yeah,
Yeah,
and to
yeah.
make it look like dirt. Me and Julia were just talking about. She's like, I'm starting to question your
Oh, yeah.
food
You're
choices because somebody was.
talking about olives.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love
I-
olives, and
They
I
make
can't,
me
I
regurge.
can't
I
believe
can't
you
do
don't like
any
them.
olives.
But
Yeah, I
she
feel
said
like you either love them or hate them.
she would eat olives in my cookies, though, like because I'm such
Your
a good
peanut
baker.
butter and jelly cookies, if they had olives
She
in
would
them,
overlook the olives for that.
I'd still have to devour them
I
because your
appreciate that.
peanut butter and jelly cookies are
I don't know
amazing.
if I'd eat that.
I know. I know that just shows.
And I like both of those things.
I think there's like something symbolic in there that Cass is willing to overlook certain things about me that maybe you're not.
Maybe. There's a thing on YouTube or no, on Facebook
I think you
that's going
overlook
around.
quite a bit about me.
That's also true. I appreciate that you can extend the same courtesy.
This lady was putting nerds in her meatballs when she's
Oh,
making meatballs. She's like
gross.
putting nerds in there and then cooking, and then making the meatballs and then putting
Why?
nerds in there and then
Yeah, I
cooking
don't see
it.
the reasoning for that.
No,
Oh.
doesn't make any sense.
It was a thing, I guess. I don't know.
I was watching a video.
Should be doing it next week.
I was
I know.
watching a video.
She just wrote that down.
Should be doing
I'm
that
like,
next
let me
week. Nerds in the meatballs.
I was watching this video and it was like cooking tips, And I was like, okay. And then she's cooking potato chips, like cooking them, like, oh, these are turning out so good. Oh, this is delicious. Like putting them in water and boiling them. And she's like, you got to stir them. That's the secret. I'm like, what?
Or like the woman that boiled hot Cheetos.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Like,
There's all sorts of videos like that.
when
that
we're
it's
in
like-
jail, that's what we eat because there's nothing else. You know what I mean? Like people are
It's
doing
not
this
a-
intentionally.
No. Yeah, and this is that you can. There's something telling about society in that. I feel like for sure.
I feel like people are bored.
Yeah, we're creating our own problems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're cooking mashed or potato chips on the stove, you're a maker of your own problems.
They feel productive. Like I cooked something, but it was a snack that they just boiled.
I get it. I mean,
Okay, this is a good segue. This is a, I don't know,
I was about
maybe.
to say, how are you going to make a right turn into something?
Just
with
watch me.
With substance. out of that.
Just watch me. So we're all cooped up cooking weird things, right? We're all cooped up, and would you not agree that maybe, kind of, somewhat, society just might be just a little bit angry or on edge? Do you feel it? Am I
Yeah.
making it up?
Not at all.
No, yeah. Definitely.
Especially now that we were just saying how long February feels normally anyway, and now we're almost a year into all of this.
I mean, the 14 days to stop the curve or flatten the curve.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
334 days.
And
We
the
have
weather's been
So cold.
yeah, and
But then it rained today.
yeah, it rained today.
We got a real winter this year.
Yeah, that started in December. And so that's another thing. We've had a long, what we're not used to winter here. And then just with everything going on, I think people are getting,
Okay.
They're on edge.
yeah,
Okay,
they're
so-
pent up.
All right. So you take the pandemic angst of being cooped up, and then you add the political climate in there, right? And then you add some social issues as well in there, right? And we've talked about somewhat about anger and what's going on in society. I get all of that, but I want to take it a step further today. The phenomenon that I see in the past decade or so, just watching social media, there seems to be like a cottage industry of like revenge, like an expectation that if someone does you in or does something negative to you or whatever, there's an expectation that you must retaliate. You know, I grew up, you know, with a Catholic background, and of course you were supposed to turn the other cheek. And that was hard growing up on the sidewalks in the streets playing sports. But generally you didn't want to look to retaliate if someone did something bad to you. I was not instructed to do this as a kid. Okay, I'm saying it's right or wrong. I just wasn't. I don't think I grew up with the idea that revenge or making sure someone has their just comeuppance or whatever the phrase is was the paramount in my life. But now I see like revenge is like a whole thing. I mean, movies glorify it, you know. There's always, everybody's got to strike back. And oftentimes people are striking back because they're misinterpreting things that are happening, or the reason things happen to them. They're almost looking for someone to strike back at. And are you seeing something similar? Is anything making any sense? And I want to talk a little bit about revenge and your thoughts on the concept of revenge, if we can.
I feel like you're alluding to something. Who are we talking about, Eric?
Sorry, buddy.
I just keep thinking of the woman cooking potato chips. And I'm like, who is she trying to get revenge on?
She's getting revenge on somebody.
Is she feeding that
She's
too?
getting revenge on somebody. Remember those Olean chips that would get you bad gas? Remember Olean was like a fake. Hold on.
Oh yeah.
Look it up.
Was that in the commercial?
Well, it was a oil substitute that didn't have any trans fat or very low fat. Period.
Oh yeah,
and it
I
was
know what
called
you're talking about.
Olean. Was the name of the
I think
substance.
I remember reading about
and
this.
I guess they took it
They
off
had
the
to pull the
market
plug.
because people were pulling the plug.
I heard people were shitting
Constantly.
themselves.
Exactly. People needed plugs. They pull a plug here and give it to these people
Can
who
you
took the shit.
imagine spending all this time and money and marketing and... Well, we have a problem with a new product.
Well, maybe that was someone on the inside of that company getting revenge on somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unleashing a world of hurt.
You could give that to somebody. They could have changed the branding and been like, did your boss hissing your Wheaties this week?
Did he pass you over for that big promotion?
Offer him some chips.
But have you seen the ads, though, where you can send people dog shit? Have you seen that?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, I totally
so
heard about
revenge
that.
is almost, now it's even
Like
fucking
revenge
funny.
culture. Yeah.
You know, it's like, I guess we laugh about it, but, you know, are we hell-bent on making sure everybody gets what's coming to them? When they do something or they perceive that they've done something wrong, or we hell-bent on making sure that we have the final say.
They're just
we get
like
the final word.
displacing where that energy should go. Because I feel like if somebody wrongs you, you know, like my ex always used to say, and he was right, the best revenge is good living. Like,
Right.
focus on yourself, put that energy into yourself instead of getting back at someone. Place that energy into like healing from what they did or recovering from what they did to you, if you really feel that way. But I do feel like we were talking about before, and I think even before the pandemic, it's just, there's so many people that are like, anger is their default emotion. They're displacing their energy to go towards that person or that thing, and feeling like they have to make things right or to rectify things. And really it's, you know, practicing forgiveness is tough, but it's a practice. You have to do it for it to work. And, you know, when you forgive, it doesn't always mean you have to let things go per se or be taken advantage of, but you have to use that energy in a healthy place for you. So if you're, I think like revenge, a lot of people, like you said, do focus on it. It's become almost like a entertaining thing. Like you see it in a lot of videos and stuff now,
absolutely.
getting back at my boyfriend that cheated on me or the
Right.
boss. And it's like, just go the other way, get away from him, man. You know what I mean? And put your energy into something better, into you, really,
Yeah.
instead of them.
It just doesn't seem to be real sexy to do that, or it doesn't seem to be the cool thing to do. You know, it's not the social media cool thing to do.
Yeah, it doesn't
Turn the
promote-
other cheek.
Yeah, there's no impulse there. You know, there's no
Yeah.
gratification there.
That's what we're looking for.
Not instant
Bingo.
gratification. It takes a
Bingo.
long time to forgive somebody or work on yourself. Whereas if you
Plus, that doesn't make it
send
interesting.
them a bag of dog shit, that's very instant.
Yeah. Plus, imagine some of your favorite action movies if the lesson was just forgive and forget.
Oh, yeah.
Oh
Good
yeah.
point.
Yeah, I get it. It's a great point.
It doesn't make as exciting a story. There's no culmination, you know.
But we should be able to differentiate between entertainment, and a good story and
We
reality.
Should be. Should be.
You know?
We should.
Yeah.
No, I think it really comes down to people just. I think Cassie alluded to it. People are already pissed off, and I think it took me a long time to kind of come to grips with certain things. Like, I hung on to a lot of anger, and when someone would do me wrong, or even just like you said, you perceive that they do you wrong.
Right.
When I perceive a slight or an injustice, now I'm making. Actually, a therapist told me that. I don't want to take credit for someone
Kudos
else.
for you to admit it.
I don't want.
You suck.
I don't want to take. I don't want to. Yeah, that's what the therapy session was about. I don't want to take credit for someone else's work here. I feel like I'm almost like pointing to something that somebody built, and I'm like, no, this was a therapist. But she was like, you're hanging on to a lot of shit.
Right.
And then someone comes into your arena, and it's like you're making them pay, not just for what they did, but for everything that's been done in your past. And she's like, it's a lot for them to own. It's a lot to put on somebody. And also, it's just not, even if you do decide that someone deserves some sort of response, it's not proportionate.
Right. Big word.
Disproportionate responses was definitely something that I had to work to get past, because I would just let people kind of push me around and walk on me, and I wanted to avoid conflict and avoid confrontation, and all of a sudden I just go berserk.
Right.
I would have no release valve, and then all of a sudden
From
just
0 to 100.
yeah,
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 quick.
yeah. And it was almost like I gave up all my space, and then someone would kind of step on that one last square, and it's just like this explosive reaction out of nowhere that wasn't really proportionate to whatever happened.
Yeah.
So
basically,
people-
the last person to push you over the edge actually
They got all of
paid
it.
the price for all the
Right.
other bullshit. It
Yes.
could have been some lady just
Yup.
crossing the street too slow.
Yep.
Right. So then it's displaced anyway. It's not
Right.
going towards.
Right.
But if people are already angry and they're not really being encouraged to do shit that's healthy, you know what I mean? I don't know. I think it's kind of an age-old question. It's definitely not a new thing.
No.
You know what I mean?
We
What was
just
it?
see it more
Was
now,
it
I think.
Confucius? Who was it? It was somebody who said, if you go seeking revenge, dig 2 graves or something like that.
It might have been Confucius.
Yeah.
That sounds accurate.
So I don't know.
What about forgiving people, not for what it does for them, but like do it for yourself?
That's what I was
Oh,
told.
yeah.
Get them out
Yeah.
of your headspace.
Yeah.
That would be like, to me, just
Like giving someone free rent in your head. There's always
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
yeah. But I think younger people, I think they struggle with that. I think that's age will mellow you a little bit to be more selfish, I think, in terms of that stuff.
Yeah,
I
like
think.
you recognize that like holding it, but then you meet like older, bitter people.
True. There's always exceptions. Yeah,
You know.
100%.
But I will say that like, and I'll, because I feel like everyone's like, definitely taking the high road here, and I appreciate that. But I will say, just to call myself out, I have definitely been known to enjoy watching someone like walk through their negative karma.
Well, I think we all
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
You know what?
But
and
did you inflict it, or did you watch it just happen to
no,
it?
no,
Okay,
no,
that's
no.
totally different.
No,
Yeah, that's
it is,
different.
but I do feel though it's like you have to kind of keep it. For me, I have to keep a check on myself and how much joy I take in that.
Oh,
really,
I get it.
because it's not healthy. You know what I
Well,
mean?
you
like,
wouldn't be human if it didn't affect you a little bit there.
And
True.
I think that's another thing that people have to realize. It's not, that's one thing if it happens, because it will. If somebody keeps
Yeah.
doing bad business practices,
No doubt.
bad friendships, bad relationships, they're eventually, they're going to either be left behind or alone or something. Like, it's not our job to it's karma's job, or if you believe in God, that's God's job, like to judge, like, so
Dish
like
out
sometimes,
yeah.
sometimes you do eventually see it and you're like, thankfully
Yeah, like I'm glad I didn't
Justice
actively
was done.
like inflict revenge on someone, but I've
Right.
definitely seen some people, incur negative consequences of their actions, and having had been on like the receiving end of some of their negative actions at different times, like then watching them incur those consequences can sometimes be gratifying. Not that, and I, again, like
It's true.
It's something I try not to like feed into because I don't think that that's like well-placed energy either. But I also feel like there is depending on how you view it, there is a kind of healthy perspective. And you do see a lot of that in meme culture now too. Like I've seen memes that have literally kind of like encompassed that sentiment of just like watching someone like, incur their own negative karma or whatever. But I do feel like as long as you're not feeding into that too much, there is an element of like taking a better path if you allow that stuff to happen naturally and don't actively try to like cause somebody, and which is like what I think of revenge as more of like an action word, you know what I mean, whereas like letting someone like experience letting someone's full tape spool out, or whatever you want to call it, letting them go through all those things, and then sometimes even if it's someone that you actually care about, being there at the end of that road for them,
hoping it's a learning experience.
And getting to kind of like, and not taking joy in their pain, actually just kind of like being able to walk through that with them, and being there for the person at the other side of it, and maybe they do become something, grow through it in a way, or develop emotionally in a way that they weren't before.
Do we have like a thirst for vengeance in society that's more apparent today than maybe it was a couple decades ago? And again, I know it's tough to have these comparisons because there's the pre-social media, current social media, but I can only talk about what we're seeing today. It just seems, because of the caustic nature of all that's in front of us, there seems to be a thirst for vengeance sake almost, without really fleshing out, is there a real, is vengeance deserved, Yeah,
everybody wants to be a hero. And I think
we can't be.
But that
Jerry
might
said
be
we could.
Depends on your definition.
Yeah.
Fair.
I think that's their way of feeling heroic or righteous, because they did something about it, I guess. They did something that they felt was justice.
Inflict their own justice.
Being the bringer of justice or whatever.
Yeah.
Is like because I do think people, especially because of social media and because we have so much like access to each other, I think people like to be viewed in that way of being like the person who figured something out, the person who brought justice to an unjust situation or an unjust person.
Okay.
Like I think people like being the person that calls somebody out, and that has a lot to do with cancel culture right now, of like, being the person that identifies the wrong that's been done and pointing to that person and kind of like directing the tide of consequence to somebody.
Right.
I think there is like a definite, I do think that plays into a lot of like the access that we have to people right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
That cancel culture, let's bridge ourselves to there. I know we've personally not talked about this in the past, but I think we can articulate that without really going down too much of a rabbit hole here. Cancel culture, as I understand it to be, is to, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you think it's something else, I understand it to be to examine someone's life and actions prior and look for things or reasons to call them out, embarrass, humiliate, or possibly stamp them out of relevance because of an action that may have happened relationships ago, decades ago, or another quote unquote another lifetime ago.
That's an example. Yeah. Sometimes it goes on for stuff that literally just happened.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think everybody has their own ideas of, well, this is what should get you canceled, this is what shouldn't get you canceled. I don't know.
Do we have the right to cancel anybody?
That's what I mean.
No matter how bad we don't like what they do.
Sure, but you really can't. It's the whole idea. You can't cancel someone if everybody's still interested in what they have to say and everyone wants to support them. Now you can get fired. You can fire someone. you know, you can take away their profile on a certain platform, you know what I mean? So, like, you can remove someone's, like, access, you know what I mean? And you
Remove them from a conversation.
you can
kinda.
take their platform away from them because you feel that they, I mean, I think in a lot of ways it comes down to, let's look at it, you know, business-wise. If a company looks at something and says, you know, you're not presenting us in a light that we want to be featured in, that company absolutely has a right to say, we don't want you to represent us anymore. You know?
Who do I want to be associated with?
Sure.
That's
Now,
their choice.
I think some people are getting the impression that it's going a little too far. And I will say, I don't want to get caught up in specific details per se, but I've noticed there have been times where I'm like, really? Like, I just found out they have a disclaimer on the Muppets. Disney put a disclaimer on the Muppets. And I, like, to me, that's shocking. I'm like, it's fucking Muppets. You know what I mean? What the
They're puppets.
What the fuck did they do?
What an epic phrase. They're fucking Muppets.
But I don't know. Like, I try and stay open-minded and say, well, you know, maybe it's some of those episodes from the 70s. Maybe there was some dicey shit in there. You know what I mean? And I think people, even, I don't know. I think even people who are really hardcore and they're like, look, if you step out of line, if you say one thing wrong, if you don't subscribe to this ideology, if you're not respecting everybody, if it's not totally inclusive, you don't deserve a platform, you don't deserve a forum, because we're trying to fight against, like, some of these traditional ideas that have held other people down, that have, you know, belittled and held minorities back. You know, there's this pervasive traditionalism in our culture and other cultures, and it's harmful. And we need to do what we can to fight against it. We need to progress towards a more inclusive culture where we don't have hatred, we don't have bigotry.
But who would disagree with that? Who, a rational human, would disagree with that concept if that's all it was?
Sure.
Right.
Sure. And I think that is the spirit of it. It just comes down, I think, where we all start pointing fingers and disagreeing is, where do you draw the line? Right. You know what I mean? Because just like you said, I mean, we live in an age where, depending on how much in the public light you are, even if you're just a kid, we talked about this last time? Even if you're a kid, you're 13 years old, you post something stupid on social media. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't be accountable for your actions, you know? I just am really thankful that people aren't holding me accountable now for things that I did or said 20 years ago. I've grown a lot since then, you know what I mean? Like, I'm kind of glad that there are things that aren't out there in the public that people can look at and be like, hey, I know you.
You're the one that said so-and-so, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, or, you know, just acted in a way that was really just inappropriate, you know what I mean?
Right.
I used to drink, I used to party, like I wasn't always a real responsible
But you're not alone.
individual. Sure,
Yeah.
that's what
Well,
I mean. So, like, everybody makes mistakes, and that's what I mean. Like, if someone makes a mistake, because sometimes, like, there are instances where it's not like, well, someone used a racial slur, you got to go, you know? And that's just the way it is. I feel like if you expose that you are someone who has, I mean, we all have certain prejudices to some extent, and that's kind of where I got cut up, because I'm looking at super woke culture and people who are super progressive, and I'm like, you probably wouldn't admit to having any prejudices whatsoever. And I think realistic people understand, it's been said by wise people, that we all have certain prejudicial attitudes and behaviors to some extent, whether we admit them or not, whether
that's the human condition.
are aware
and
of
it's
them.
not race
Right.
driven. It's difference driven.
We're-
And there's differences could be of any kind.
None of
when
us
you
are
know
perfect.
better, you do better. And
Sure.
yeah, and not to, you know, once again, not to get super specific, but like the whole thing that just happened with Morgan Wallen. Did you guys hear about that? The country singer.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. And it's one of those things where he ended up using a racial slur. It was caught on camera. He was with his friends. And we're so polarized. There's either these people that are like, cancel him, he shouldn't be this or that, and then there are people that are supporting him. It's just a word. He didn't mean it like that. He was saying it to his friend outside of his house. He wasn't like out in public saying it derogatory. And there's no, like you always say, pragmatic thing. Like, nobody came to
The conclusion.
that there could be so much more than that. He's apologized and everything, and that's great. But there's also a platform here where instead of dropping him, canceling him, and all this stuff. Can we educate him? Can we educate his followers? Because there's so many people that are saying it's just a word. It's not a big deal. He is still a white person saying this word that is, I think people get so caught up on like, I don't care if I offend you. I don't care if I offend you. It's not just that it's an offensive word. It's an oppressive word. You know, we're not that far removed from days when people of color were treated completely differently than they are even now. And so, I mean, that word, even though he was saying it with his friends, he was saying it in the he shouldn't have been saying it. And he should learn that he shouldn't have been saying it. He obviously didn't know. And now he should learn that. His fans could be learning that, but he was dropped from his label. Then there's other people that are like buying his albums to support him because they think it's just
Which
a word.
just builds the caustic nature of the
Yeah,
argument.
exactly. It's
The
very
contentious,
polarized. And it's like,
Right.
you know, just because a word means nothing to you, it might mean everything to somebody else, and that should matter. And he's you know, I don't know the guy. I don't really like listen to his music. I do know that he's stumbled and fallen before. I think on SNL he was supposed to perform on SNL. He didn't show up when he was supposed to, and then there was like videos being shown to like the creators of SNL or like the producers of SNL that he was like out at a bar like making out with girls. So they were like, we don't think you're gonna show up. So they got Jack White. Jack White came in and performed that night, and so then Morgan Wallen apologized. He came on another time, and it was like just solved. And he was kind of like, I'm very sorry, I didn't get it. You know, like he's gonna stumble and fall sometimes. I mean, it's very hard to navigate through celebrity and all these things, and I don't know if I really feel like from what I've heard of this guy, if he's really just a total jerk. I feel like he's just messing up a lot. And I think he could learn from this. His fans could learn from this.
I think
but
because
instead,
of his, I don't think he deserves his fame because he's stupid. So I don't mind him losing his fame. I don't think he should be canceled.
Right.
But if his stupidity causes him to lose, and he keeps doing it, then he's just stupid. And maybe he doesn't deserve to be a successful musician because he can't handle his business. I mean, that's. I get it. I totally get it.
I get that part too.
And I think it's an insidious word. It was always an insidious word. It's also an insidious word regardless who says it. And see, that's where I'm on the fence. Where if it's a hurtful word, then nobody should say it. You know, there's no context in terms of who can say things in society. One can say it, one can't say it. I've had this conversation with a plethora of diverse people. This is just how I feel. It doesn't make any sense. You're asking society to provide special exceptions for groups of people when we're trying to fight against exceptions that cause the problem in the first place. It doesn't make sense to me that if something is insidious, and I believe it's insidious because it represents, just like the Confederate flag represents, racism. From my viewpoint, it's a symbol. Well, we get rid of symbols that don't serve society anymore. We don't eliminate history, I don't think, because I don't think that's intellectually smart. Yeah. But we don't need to use symbols or words that hurt people. We need to stop that. You know, that's how I view it. It's cut and dry. We're either going to move forward and do the right thing so we don't hurt people, or we're going to fight about who can use symbols and words and who can't. And if someone does say this, all of a sudden now we're going to punish him in this way. I mean, you know, it's like, this is madness. It's just complete madness to think that this guy has fans that want to buy his records because it's just a word to them. There could be a whole other thing going on there, you know, which doesn't take your mind to go there, right, going on. And on the other side, he's the worst human being walking the planet.
Right.
Because he used the word, because he's an idiot and used the word.
Right.
You know? So there's got to be something in the middle.
And I feel like, okay, if we're going to go with, you know, he's a celebrity, so why not use his platform? The NAACP actually offered to educate him on the history of that word. And I do think it is still used by like people of color, like trying to take the power back and trying to take some things off of that word. So I mean, that is another thing, is that was a lot of people's argument. Well, how come some people can say it, some other people can't? And
That's kind of my argument. Not because I
Yeah.
want to say the word. I think the word should be abolished. I just don't.
Yeah.
I think, and it isn't a matter of they get to do something that others don't get to do. It's not about that. I just think if something is horrid, then it's horrid regardless of who says it. And when you continue to say it, it keeps getting proliferated. When it keeps getting thrown out there in music, when it gets thrown out there in movies, because someone gives the green light to say it, it's still in the social narrative. If you want to eliminate it, quit fucking saying it.
Yeah, and I kind of get it from both sides.
Yeah, I don't think, because that was a lot of the argument. Well, he said it to his friend and said
That doesn't make it any
in
better.
songs and culture all the time. But like I said, I think that's more of trying to take some of the power back from that word. Because like I said, it's a very oppressive word. If you ask me, I think it's scary.
I don't get that.
Yeah,
Like,
but I mean,
take the power back. What do you mean by that?
I mean, if it's used to degrade and to beat somebody down, and they take it and claim it and just start using it, then it
But
kind of
they own it, so
Right.
they, you know what I
Right.
mean?
That was like
they own
Freak
it.
when
They
we were
live
younger.
it.
Like, were you gonna say that?
no.
Okay, well, like I remember, like that was like supposedly like what like all like the jocks and normies.
Not that it's comparable in any way.
Not that it is. No, exactly. And it's very.
But
very,
it was a derivative
very
word because we wore
mild
black and we were
version.
different, long hair and stuff,
Yeah.
and they called us freaks, like we don't fit in, like you don't belong here.
Mm-hmm.
And so we started saying it like a joke to each other. You know what I mean? But the other part is now taking the power back has become part of popular culture and popular music, and it's become really popular. So now some people just want to say it, and some people are saying it not because they want to use it to hurt somebody, simply because it's in their favorite songs. Like
Yeah.
it's really prevalent in a lot of popular culture, and it's black entertainment. And so you got, maybe they're stupid white people, but they're like, well, I want to say the funny line from the movie. I want to say the David Chappelle line. Like, I want to sing this
or
rap
I want to
lyric.
sing
like,
along with the song.
and a
Yeah.
rapper was asking somebody to sing along with them, and there was the word, and the white person sang the word into the microphone, and the whole crowd was just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I'm not like, what do you do in that situation? Like, I know what the right thing is to do. You're white. Don't say the word. But it's become so prevalent in popular culture. People are like, well, I like your culture. I like your music. Coming along with that, this word is in there. When you're by yourself, do you sing the word? Like, nobody's here. Should I rap the
Right.
word? I'm not
Yeah.
supposed to rap that word. But, like,
do
it's
that.
such a good line. I want to say it. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
no, I know.
is it excuse to be racist and to say the word? Like, I got away with saying the word because it's just from a movie. It's just the rap lyric.
But it's
Or-
also like, I think you have to think about, like, I don't walk around every day in their shoes. Like, I don't own
I
that
get-
word.
I
I
get
can't
it.
own
Sure.
that word.
Sure.
So I think that's what people have to look at more than anything. Like Morgan Wallen, he didn't say it like as a, he wasn't trying
Right.
to be angry. He was saying it to his friend, but you shouldn't be saying it to your friend. You're a white guy. You don't walk around as a person of color.
Well, that's just
you
not.
don't deal
That's just
with
not
what-
smart. It's
Right.
not. It's smart. But again, the logical side of my brain, there is one in there. It doesn't equate to me that if something is bad, it's bad for everybody. I'm not fighting for the right to say it. I don't want to say that word
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
I want it gone.
Yeah.
Because guess what? If you do try to promote a society where that word gets eviscerated by all, guess what? It will kind of go away.
Now you got suburban white.
will go away.
You got suburban white girls who are 14. They say that. They call each other that. They've seen it in movies. They've seen it. And I'm not saying, well, they
That's
see it, and
my
so
entire
they
point.
just automatically do it. Like, you don't have any like Cassidy said. You still have self-awareness to understand that
We're supposed to.
it is not appropriate for
supposed
me.
to have
I've seen
self-awareness.
people on social media, and they say it like
Yeah.
Hey,
they're just talking to
what's
someone
up,
and
girl?
addressing them, and I'm
Yeah.
like, you're white.
Yeah.
Like,
you-
I get you didn't mean it like that, but like, this is a public forum.
Yeah.
I don't think you should have said that. And it's kind of becoming, in certain circles, it seems like it's almost, I've seen people say it on social media, white people to each other, and it just like no one stops. And
No one blinks.
And that's the thing. That's what I mean. Like, am I being the conservative white guy who's like, well, if that word is a problem, we should just get rid of that word? You're a black entertainer. You're like, it's my word. I'm going to fucking say it. You can't fucking say shit to me. I can say it if I want to, because you were like, we should abolish it. How do you abolish a word?
I am not.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
I'm not. Be very clear about my position. I am not coming at this looking for the right to use this word.
Yeah,
I understand.
As some kind of like.
No, I get it.
I mean?
You said you wanted it gone. I understand.
Well, no. Right. I mean, we're not going to create a law.
That's what I mean. You said we should abolish. I don't know.
I'm saying.
How do you fight against it?
No. I'm saying
you know
I would promote the idea.
Yeah.
In society, that it's an abhorrent word, regardless of who says it.
Yeah.
It carries a much more weight if it comes from a Caucasian person because of what that has done, that stereotype has done, and that word has done to African Americans historically. I get it. I don't get it, but I get it. You see, there's no way I can get it. But it's such a horrid word. I don't know why it has to still be used by anybody. If someone has the license to use it or not, it doesn't matter. How are we moving forward from it?
Here's the thing, though. In the same way that, like, you know, we have censorship and we have, you know, what was the not the PDA, whatever the governing body of who decided, like, the FS. Well,
You mean the record thing?
I think it was like on records or whatever, but they were the ones.
Tipper Gore?
No,
Frank
it's
Zappa?
an acronym.
No, it's I'm blanking on it too.
But it's
the FCC.
The FCC. Okay. Yes.
Okay.
So, you know, we have a governing body that basically decides like what's appropriate.
That's for broadcasts and stuff.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying for the public forum. But now, like we've talked about in the past, like public forums exist in person and virtually, and you know, now due to coronavirus, like it's so much more virtual, and so then you've got like all these different ways of like recording someone and then spitting it out to, you know, the world. The fact is that like it's part of the vernacular in urban slang. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And I don't think there is a should or should not. I mean, obviously
it's hard to make rules.
Exactly. That this is the problem, is that like
you can't have
it's a sound I make with my mouth. Like there is literally no way to make a word illegal, like you're saying. And so like, you know, there's a lot of other racial slurs that carry a lot of weight to the people that have been oppressed by them. And every time someone, especially someone with clout or fame or a platform, gets caught using said, you know, racial slang, it does become a very big issue and it becomes a topic of conversation. And to be fair, it should. But the fact is that there's no way to eliminate that from like the human language, because it just is what it is.
It is. And I feel like I feel like especially like I said with somebody like Morgan Wallen, this just happened.
How old is he? Maybe like
He's
20s or
He's old enough to know better.
No, well that's the point.
But the thing
He's
is,
just trying to do a little comic relief. This is a heavy subject.
But he is
You're
old
right.
enough to, but he doesn't deserve his celebrity.
Well, is he in his 20s though? Like is he, or is
probably,
he in his 30s?
Yeah,
So
he's probably youngish. And I mean,
your brain isn't fully formed till you're 25. So
That doesn't matter.
but
I'm not saying it's an excuse.
You can get a job, you can vote.
I'm not saying it's an excuse. What I'm saying is
he's
that
younger.
The point
young
is
and
that I
dumb,
do think
but
it's a
still.
teachable moment. Like
yes,
what you're
absolutely.
saying.
And it could teach a lot of people. That's another thing. I think people just aren't, like you're talking about these people that use it on social media, young girls, young people that are seeing it in the entertainment industry.
I've seen it in videos. I'm like,
and they,
I know.
you are straight out of the suburbs.
and they're
You shut your mouth.
they're only seeing that part of it because maybe they are young or maybe they were like, believe me, it's not like anybody taught me this growing up. Like there's enough information out there that you can have empathy for somebody who lives completely differently from you.
Absolutely.
And like I said, we're not that far. That's another thing that people don't get. They think this is like something that dates so far back. We're not that far removed.
50 years, 40 years.
Yes. There are people that live on this earth that have lived a completely different life because of that word. So it just does mean more. And like you said, it shouldn't have to be illegal. And like you said, it's not like you even want to say it. Nobody wants to say it. Like,
you can't outlaw a word. I'm saying if we do not, I guess what I'm trying to say is, if we care at all that there's a political system and we have leaders in society, business leaders, hopefully parents, political leaders, a narrative can be set of what is good for society and what is bad for society. When you have these folks who don't care about words or their impact or their meanings, and they don't care, and no one's speaking out against the fact that it's wrong, we have what we have today. A big pile of fucking confusion.
I think part of it, and I think it needs to be said, is I might not get it as far as why that word is a part of black entertainment and black culture. But just like you said, I can never get it. Neither can I. And when a black entertainer uses it, or when a black musician uses it, and it resonates with other black people, it obviously does. And the fact that I don't get it is just the way it is. So for me to look at the black community and be like, we don't like this word, you guys got to stop using it, and then we'll stop using it. Like, that's what I mean.
No, I'm not saying that.
Even if I don't get
that's
it,
not my point.
No, but that's what I mean. Like, even if I don't get it, obviously, like, rappers use it. Like, it's been used in black entertainment and like in comedy, and that's what I mean. Like, so what Cassidy said, like, it's taking the power back. I don't know. Since I haven't been on the receiving end of it, I can't really understand. But obviously, like, it still resonates, and the word's not going anywhere.
Yeah, and we
have to come to grips with the fact that the word is there
and how it's going to be used, and the fact that of where it's appropriate, and like to say that it's never appropriate, I just don't think is like. There are things that
I don't want to say it. I will say that.
Yeah,
that's
me
what I mean.
either.
There are certain times when it is simply not appropriate because, like it. I think it's like Cassidy said. It just stands for something that is like the oppression of an entire.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot of things I'll say that I'm not worried about offending somebody. I mean, I don't want to offend anybody, but like.
Yeah, you can't totally
like sometimes
censor
if you
yourself.
want to be offended, you're going to be offended. I think you've even said that, Eric. But like,
well,
it's not
I think being offended is a choice.
Right.
That's a real deep discussion to have, but that's just how I feel.
I think it just goes so much more than that. It's not offensive. It's like
it's more than offensive.
Well, it's repulsive, is what it is. I mean, that word is repulsive, and that word is also an attack.
Yes,
and that's
it's
where
scary almost.
Yeah, and that whereas,
but they don't. I think a lot of people that don't get that and aren't educated on that, they just don't get that. They think people are offended.
Well,
and they don't care that people are offended because it's just a word.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's okay.
But if racism weren't a thing anymore, maybe it wouldn't be so prevalent. Maybe there wouldn't be any power to take back from the word, because the word stands for racial oppression and discrimination. So maybe if we were at a time in society where we had come further and didn't have it in our society, then it wouldn't be so prevalent. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So as to like what you're saying about, it would be great if nobody said it. I think we'll get there someday. It's just that so much needs to change.
That was the question that I wanted to throw out, because you were talking about something earlier and it kind of struck a chord with me. I was like, I'm not trying to like steal the question making spot.
Take over the show.
We are 4 equal people on this show. Honestly, I mean, it'll always be that way.
And this is something that I really, and not even for the sake of the show, you guys aren't even here right now. I'm really interested. Do you guys, do you guys think we will ever? Do you think the human race, or do you think human beings are possible of getting to a point where we do not have racism, discrimination, the whole idea that I hate you because you're
100%, but not because of anything we're doing in our brain. This will happen in hundreds and hundreds, maybe 1,000 or 2,000 years from now, when the cultures continue to mix and we all are one. And we look the same, relatively speaking.
Okay, I get what you're saying.
So I think science will take us there. It won't be some altruistic thing about our behavior. It'll be science will take us commonality. Science will make us all common. You see?
Yeah.
But no, the immediate answer to your question is absolutely not.
Right.
We are a being that has shown time and time again that we have put way too much emphasis on differences as opposed to finding the benefits of likeness. And we do this at a pace right now that is very bad for our society.
Yeah.
Well, and consider this though, is that like everyone's experience of like what it means to like experience racism or discrimination is different. And so like in our culture in America in 2021, you know what I mean? Like we're at, you know, like you said, like it's not that far removed from, you know, the time of slavery and all these things. And there are other countries that also had peoples that they, you know, took captive and utilized as slaves. And there's, you know, classism and all these different like types.
Apartheid was just
Yeah.
like, was that the 90s they finally got rid of apartheid?
Yep.
Right.
Yeah,
Yep.
and then you look at, you know, I agree with you that there will eventually come a time that globally, like we might all be mixed up, but like, I mean, there's entire parts of the world that are only really like one type of people because no one else moves there. It
Right.
just so happens that in America we have a lot of different, you know, they call it a melting pot, all that kind of stuff.
Which
And
makes the country amazing.
It
It's
is,
what
but
we
what
are.
you have to consider is that like there's a big difference between, you know, celebrating culture or trying to erase culture
Right.
and or like, you know, tribalism or thinking that you're better or like all these different things without just kind of being able to like you said like celebrating like or finding likenesses, but then also being like okay with the fact that like, you know, there's different types of Europeans that are here and we're all like different and they make up these stereotypes and everything and like they're not all made up because a lot of them do hold true. No, I'm just kidding. But like
What, white stereotypes?
yeah, but like, you know, just like, you know,
Yeah, we can't
Irish
fucking
people like
dance.
to
I
drink.
Can't dance for shit.
I was about to say, like, no, I'm saying like Irish people like to drink. Like, I don't know. I know a lot of Irish people do actually like to
Like,
drink.
do tell.
Italian people have a bad temper. Like, that's Italian people and Irish people have a bad temper. I think we've both.
I think every nationality has been
Yeah.
paid with the bad temper shit, and that
Really?
goes back to your what fucking
French.
Yeah,
Dutch?
The French.
I don't think.
I don't know. I think the French have been looked
The
at for their
Swedes.
temper.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's because they're Sweden. They're neutral. They're like the only ones.
My point is that
That's
You
the
guys are like
Swiss.
French.
Oh, that's
the
right.
Swedes.
I'm an
There's
ignorant
like-
fuck. I don't know what I'm talking about.
there's people out
All
there.
they do there is ski, drink, and make watches, buddy. That's
There's
all
some
they do in
passive
Switzerland.
people out there. Not passive, but I'm just saying that like
You're right. You're right.
you know, I honestly Polish. I've never known a stereotype.
No, I definitely
Is
heard of
that
Polish
really?
temper, yeah.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know enough Polish.
I think
people,
we're all
maybe.
just angry, like Eric said. We're
Maybe.
just all just out for blood. The human race
Possibly.
is bloodthirsty and vengeful.
Yeah, well, and the point that I'm making though is that I think it's here we see I think maybe an accelerated version of like people coming together because it's only so big of a landmass and there are like a lot of different cultures that have kind of like overlapped. And even like in Black culture, not everyone's from Africa. Some people are African American. Some people are from Jamaica.
That's been pointed out that, you know, the default African American
It's not always true.
not always correct.
Yeah, and then like, you know, the distinction between Black people and brown people and all that.
We're like a stew, you know, and you throw all those ingredients in there, and the end result is hopefully it tastes good, right? But when your ingredients don't get along in there, the result isn't good. And right now, the result's not real good.
Well, but think about this though. It's like, you know, different people that are raised culturally very differently. Like, you know, okay, like I'll use like I said, like my family's 50 or I'm 50% Italian. So like my dad's family is 100% Italian, and they're very loud. And they're very like, and I don't know that all Italians are loud, but most of the Italians that I've met are very like
They're gregarious people.
And so then you combine that with someone that maybe I don't know, maybe like a French or Dutch person. I don't know how they are. Like, are they less loud? I don't
Everybody
know.
fucks on the French. I don't know what it
I don't know anyone that's French. I'm just guessing.
Yeah, why is that?
I don't know. All I'm saying is that maybe if there's or English, maybe English people aren't as loud.
No, we're Slovenian, and I think we're pretty loud.
Okay,
Or
but,
like,
but so
yeah.
find a culture that's maybe not so loud, and then you like throw like half of them with the louder.
Norwegians.
There you go, something. And you're just gonna kind of have like a culture clash. Like
Canadians.
I've met people that have like, you know, even just like their family, like, okay, well, don't you know, get freaked out, but my family's like, you know, they're really aggressive or they're really like this. Then you bring like your new boyfriend or girlfriend home for the first time, and maybe they came from like a really soft-spoken household, and they walk into this like huge, loud
But isn't that
situation.
great?
And see, look, and
I
then
think that's
I touch
great.
it with my.
And then you do the Italian thing and speak with your hands and smack the microphone.
Exactly. But it is great. But at the same time, it can also be like an upheaval, is the point that I'm making. And so sometimes there's like a settling period of like integration. And I think we should be getting past that at this point. But at the same time, there's still people experience culture shock all the time.
Well, America's the great experiment. I mean, think about it. You know, not like I think you mentioned in prior conversation, the English, who lives in England? Well, I mean, there's different nationalities moving in, but basically they're English people. Who lives in France? Well, generally the French, right? Who lives in America? Oh, Americans. Well, how long have Americans been populating that land? Oh, about 300 years.
Yeah, we're the new kid on the block.
Exactly right. This is an experiment, and the fact that I heard something today that made me really pretty proud as an American. I don't have these moments often, unfortunately, but I heard this on the radio, and it was a 2-minute diatribe about how it's the great experiment. But of all the types of government that has been tried on the, it seems like with all of our warts, our representative democracy seems to be the one that's working the best. Because it's yielded so much capitalism, it's yielded so much, strength and might and all that. Whereas like parliamentary systems and all that, they all are keeping their people and providing less opportunity for their people, less freedom for their people. This seems like this experiment seems to be the best, flawed in everything.
Yeah, I'll steal from my older brother Mike. He said to me one time, he's a student of history. He loves World War II and the samurai and just anything he got interested in. He learned all about it.
Right.
Love you, Mike. And he looked at me. We were talking about it. He said, "We're the freak, man." You know what I mean? And I actually started a rant on a bullhorn off with that quote, "Freedom is the freak of history."
I remember that. Yeah.
'Cause from
right on.
way back, you look, freedom. People didn't have freedom. Like,
no, man.
Freedom is not.
The people had to be
usual.
controlled.
People were not often given the right to decide for themselves how they were going to live their lives, and it's been ruled by the few for time out of mind,
And it still may be happening. It's just disguised real well in this country.
The whole free-range chickens theory, you know what I mean? We yield more fruit when we're given the illusion that we're off on our own. Seriously.
Hey, I'm having a good time. I don't care. You're like, don't fuck with my free
Don't
range.
mess with my illusion.
My illusion of freedom.
You want to piss somebody off, fuck around with their illusions. You know what I mean? Like when you can, and I mean, it sounds really arrogant to come off that way, but when you look at someone and you can just see they're stuck in this way of thinking, and you can kind of see around a corner that you feel like they can't, you know what I mean? And you start talking to them and trying to get them to see a little bit further, people will either be really intrigued or, man, they will get upset.
Yeah, right on.
And it's usually the latter.
You're right.
Well, yeah, they need the comfort.
But the one thing that because we're moving on into newer, interesting territory, the one thing that I think I wanted to put out there is just with the whole woke culture, woke people, do not forget that it is not the default to be inclusive, accepting, forgiving, understanding. Like, that's not the default. You act like we're all just automatically. Now, I do get the point. People are like, well, no one's born racist, and that is true. But if you look at the way people behave, and it's not a new thing, if you look at the way people behave from time out of mind, like you said, Eric, we look for reasons to divide us. You're different than us. We don't accept you. We don't want you around. It happened here in America. Everybody who got here in the United States, you were not welcome.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, nobody was welcome here. Anytime, like, when the Irish first started coming over, no matter who was starting to come over the next wave, you were not welcome here.
Right.
Like
whoever was here did not want you here.
The Asians built the railroads. Like, they were just like brought. Like, they pretty much.
Sure.
Like, is that right?
Yeah, and I have to be careful here because, like, I'm not trying to take anything away from the black experience. The black experience is black people were brought here and made slaves and helped build this nation against their will.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But what I'm trying to point out is that the default is not accept everybody, love everybody.
Right.
The default is not against prejudice, against discrimination. Like, if you look at the history, like, if that was the default, then discrimination would be an uncommon, unusual thing. Bigotry would be an uncommon, unusual thing. Sexism and xenophobia and all the different things, like hating gay people and hating trans people.
Well, humans aren't good with diversity, just in general.
It would be a rare thing instead of such a common thing if our default mode was to love everyone and to accept everyone and to be inclusive. I don't know what it is about us, but it's not necessarily just, well, you were raised wrong. There's something about the human makeup that, it seems like we are predisposed to finding differences and
exploiting them.
Yeah, it's almost like a swan or some bird will peck the shit out of a baby duckling or fawnling or I don't know. I don't know.
Do you know your
Freaking
birds?
me out, man.
There's some bird that if a little baby duck or whatever the hell it is born with a little spot on its head, it will peck the shit out of that thing until it kills the baby. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's wired into us, like, seek your common, kill the others. I don't know what it is, but
that has been speculated before. That like there is something in our DNA that
if
is
we're
like,
wired to protect our own tribe and to kill the other tribe or something, you know what I mean? Now, throughout history, there have been peaceful peoples. You know what I mean? There have been. So it's
Dutch.
not like it's impossible. No, there's been tribes that were known to be like they were just peaceful and loving and like they didn't run around killing each other.
Yeah.
But there is definitely a predisposition somewhere in the human condition that leads us to end up in this trap where we are divided and we are unfairly discriminating against our fellows,
1,000,000%.
and that we tend to end up divided rather than coming together. And hey, maybe that's been exploited. I mean,
I think
we
it's,
talked about how the few rule the many. Like, is that an accident? I don't think that happens by accident.
I think it's the difference between like interest and fear. And I, like you said, I do think some people that are higher up might exploit that. Like, because if we see something different, we might be interested in that. It might not turn into fear, and we don't want that unless somebody kind of spins it that way.
Huh.
Like, I wouldn't, you know, we might be interested in the dot on the gosling's head.
Yeah. See?
But if somebody tells us to fear it or that it's a defect, then we might, you know, take it differently.
Sure.
Bathroom break.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
You said something that I don't want to let it slip how important it was, though. No, seriously.
Bathroom break.
Wait, no. But she said something really important. You
Don't
said
lose it.
There's a teachable moment. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
if it's not the default, and I don't think that it is, because automatically we'd be singing Kumbaya and we'd be hand by hand. You know what I mean? Like, to admit that you have prejudices and you need help, like in this climate, in this culture, is it cool to be like, hey, I discriminate against, I have prejudicial feelings towards, I need help. No, you don't. You need beat over the head and
Exactly
we will beat you to death. And it's just the
Exactly
whole idea that we all need to pretend I don't have any prejudices against anybody. I'm
Well,
Or the flip side, which where they're trying to teach everyone that every white person's racist. Because that's the other thing they're trying
the default
that
is,
we're in,
that we can't help it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I've
which
heard
is
that
just
too.
insane.
So that's what I'm saying, like with the whole bringing up Morgan Wallen again. I'm not going to say he wasn't wrong.
that you need to
But
excuse that, right?
the kid, like I said, I don't know how old he is. He looks young. He might be 20s, 30s. But the kid said, "I'm sorry. There's no excuse to ever use that word. I need to do better." So he has all these.
Can't we forgive him? Are we not allowed to forgive anymore?
But then some people say you're only saying you're sorry because you got caught.
I don't
You're
care
not
what
really
someone
sorry.
else says.
Sure, but it's the opposing viewpoint.
Right? No, I understand. What I'm saying to you is the act of forgiveness really lost in society? Is it really that fucking lost? He's going to have to go down and beg forgiveness before he ever gets a shot again, and then go on the tour on Oprah or go on the tour on Ellen and go on the tour to apologize 100 times to get back into social graces, so maybe he'll have a chance to be a country star again. You know what? That's insane too. It's stupid.
And is that
it's
genuine?
Stupid. No.
Yeah, like
Of
I
course,
said,
who knows, right?
That's
Maybe,
what I mean. Is
maybe,
that the
maybe
litmus
not.
test? If you go on fucking Oprah, if you
I
go
invalidate
and-
all of it, man.
like a whole Michael Vick thing.
I invalidate
But
it all.
I do think this kid, because he's getting tons of support. I mean, his record sales have gone up like 300% or something. So it's not like he's been dropped
The
from
narrative is, of course, because half the country's racist.
That's what I mean. That
yeah, they just don't. They believe that he didn't do anything wrong. But this is a teachable moment. He has plenty of people he could educate here. He could, maybe not like you said, like go on but like I said, the NAACP,
An apology tour.
He definitely could use this.
Yes.
To better, because like I said,
There's no question.
I don't think a lot of us grew up educated in a lot of that stuff.
No.
You either know better and you do better, and I think it's our responsibility. And with him having a platform, even his record company, I mean, why did it take like R. Kelly's record company years to drop him? It was like until it came out and was at the surface at a place where it was bad for them, they dropped him. So now the record label is dropping Morgan Wallen when they could say, you need help and we need to use this as a, because obviously people don't understand.
Well, I think corporations are just running scared right now. I think I think their PR departments are at the point where they don't know.
It's true, and
they
that's
don't
because
know
of everything.
And they don't know what to. I mean, I heard the craziest thing, and we don't have to go down this road, but I found it fascinating that the mayor of New York City closed the ice rinks because they were funded on with charity money from the Trump organization, because the city of New York is going to disconnect from anything related to Trump or his businesses. They're going to close the ice rinks in New York City, which, again, I'm just throwing it out there. I don't have all the facts in front of me. If that is true, there's a perfect example of wanting to squash or cancel a group of people, not just one person, a group of people at the expense of the public, the expense of people that completely harmed for no fucking reason.
That doesn't make sense anyway.
It just doesn't.
Yeah, besides that city's like
it doesn't make
freaking,
logical sense to me.
Underwater as it is, I mean, like they're shooting people left and right, and they've got they're still fighting the virus. Like, why do something else that's gonna like make it harder for them?
We've taken,
like, people probably like ice skating.
That makes no sense.
Half the country hates an individual so bad that individual, because he's a successful business person in a life before his political life, they're going to do everything they can to cancel him and his name and his family and the business out, regardless of all the employees and the people the businesses affect. And all, they're going to cancel that out, which has nothing to do with like his presidency or not. That's all the past. I'm talking about what happens going forward. To cancel out anybody because they just want to, because that person is a bad person. Some people have determined that's a bad person. We're going to cancel that out. It's just, again, it's knee-jerk reaction, and it's just, again, not critical thinking. It's all just so sided in the same hatred that they accuse the man of having. It's just crazy. It's totally insane to me.
The culture war is a real thing.
There's no doubt, man. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the victim is the public. The victim will always be the public. It really will never be the intended victim. The victim will always be it's like a war, right? The casualties come from the crossfire, right?
Well, and it starts with a certain spirit, and so it spearheads a certain movement. But if it gets to the point where, I don't know, I just think it's important to reevaluate and say, okay, here's the actions that we are taking. Are these actions making a meaningful, real impact? Are we doing anything against discrimination? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, are we doing anything against systematic racism? Right. Or are we just telling everybody, hey, mind your fucking P's and Q's? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Is it about us being...
Good question.
Is it about
Good
us...
question.
Is it about us being right, or is it about us actually helping people, about us actually doing what we say we're going to do? And is it an easy thing to say? No, because some people will be like, look, if you're a closet racist, you shouldn't have a public platform. Like, you don't need to be shaping and influencing people. And it's kind of hard to argue with, you know what I mean? But when
then you have to find the proof and all that.
You get to the point, though, where it's like, okay, are we splitting hairs here? Are we looking for any opportunity? Right. And right now, like, there's a lot of people are saying, look, you're targeting people of conservative views. And come on, people of hardline conservative views have long been accused of just being racist just because you're white in America, you've got a privileged life, like you're trying to protect the status quo. Like, whether you're actively racist or not, you want to protect the system that oppresses minorities and puts you first. And again, I'm not saying I agree with that, but isn't that hard to argue with if someone's a minority and they're fucking poor? Like, there is a disparity between what white people have in this country and between what minorities
100%.
have. But here's the real question. Fucking telling somebody, oh, well, you made this minor faux pas and we're going to fucking take your career away. Does that help the minority who's struggling in this country? Like, maybe in a way it does. Well, we're changing the culture on the front line here in the public where everyone sees it. But I don't know. I think you could find a couple minorities who say, you know what, that's not doing shit for me.
Yeah, I don't think the cancel culture. If the cancel culture is a thing, we're gonna look at it and talk about it. We're not pretending. We are assuming it's a thing here. I don't think that serves anybody of all races, all colors, all genders, that doesn't serve anybody. That philosophy of canceling people out because you don't like them for whatever reason. You don't like them as a person, their actions, their viewpoints, what you think they think, you're just going to cancel them out. You're going to find a reason to justify canceling them out today, 20 years ago, whatever. That doesn't serve anybody. You can use the guise that it's happening for social justice or it's happening to fight racism or genderism or whatever, but it doesn't, in the big picture, that philosophy of canceling people out will not serve society. And my hope is that it's a thing of the last couple of years, the cancel culture. I hope that's a thing that eventually will fade away again. I don't know if it will. I hope it does.
I think we have to validate, because you got a broad audience, there's going to be a lot of people listening. I think we have to validate the feelings of people who say, look, there have been people in the public eye who have said things that are simply unacceptable, and they absolutely needed to have their platform taken away from them. And I think we got to validate those feelings. I don't want to get into. I don't want to trash talk and shit on someone and be like, you know what Roseanne Barr said?
No.
You know what I mean? Seriously,
I agree with you.
That's what I mean. But
I agree with
we
you,
need
but it's
to.
a slippery slope of trying to figure
Interestingly
out
enough,
who deserves it and who doesn't.
I want to
deserve
point
it.
out though that, and this has been on Rogan a couple of times, that Roseanne Barr actually did have a traumatic brain injury. And interestingly enough, like before, she spent months in a mental hospital because she got hit by a car. I think it was hit by a car.
She's not special.
I know. I'm not excusing. But you weren't hitting the head.
Time for another cookie?
You want another one?
We're going to open up the next.
Yeah, my tongue's not black enough.
Anyway. Let me see.
All right.
Okay. Oh, that's not gonna work.
All right.
Like, I pulled a little bit of hair out and it was like sticking straight out. I was like, that's not gonna
Wait, did you already get this little guy? You want a different character?
I got him already. Yeah,
You did?
I don't even know what that is.
I don't either. I don't know what it is.
That's how it works.
What about this? This looks like a little girl.
Here, give that to her. What else you got?
Maybe a cat?
That's the same one that I had.
What
I
else
had
you got? Give that to Jerry.
All right.
What about that little guy? Do you
Oh.
ever-
That's cool. I'll take that.
All right.
All right, I'll take that.
All right. Hit me. Hit me.
Wait a second.
right.
This is the same one I had. This is the same guy I had prior.
I think it's the same guy too.
Yeah, we out of dudes.
We're out of dudes.
So there's only two different characters.
Here, wait. I found the cat. I found the cat.
Cat's
You
cool.
want a
There you
cat?
All right, here.
All right.
Take this one.
I'll give it.
Here, wait.
All right.
I
Now,
know
which
one.
one did you get? This
I
little guy?
had the weird girl. I had the weird looking girl. So I gave that one to Jerry.
Yeah, this is a
want
cat
this?
for sure.
Okay.
This dude.
Are we on air?
Yeah. Of course.
That dude.
Yes. Okay.
There, what do you have? You have the little girl.
I'm not sure. I just smashed mine.
I know. I saw that.
Fred's gonna be so jealous when he
I
sees this because
know.
he's like, I don't let him eat in here.
You let me bring donuts.
I know, but I let Fred eat a pizza in here one time when
Oh,
we first
no,
started.
that's not a
and
good idea.
Yeah, that'll never happen
Couldn't
again.
have been
Oh
any
my
worse.
God.
And then he
That's not a
had
good idea.
McDonald's in the one time, and it's
No,
just-
also not a good idea.
McRib.
no, oh
No.
my God!
See, this is another reason
Here
why
we
I think you have
go.
terrible taste in food.
I know. Me and Julia.
You were mentioned on the
We got-
UFO podcast.
I
you
saw
know
that.
Got into it.
I saw that you were like, yeah, Cass likes them, and I was like, I do. And then we got, I got our friend Jason to come over to this side, and
I know he tried it.
Oh,
yeah.
I think
If I get like 2 more people to convert, I think I get a toaster or something
so
for
this,
getting
this
people
can lead into the awards. That's award worthy. If you can actually get people to like the McRib, you should get awards.
That's a segue.
we should probably eat them. You know, it'd be great
What?
when we go to film the next UFO episode. We got to somehow get her early before Freddie and James show up. And
I'm
you and
not
I-
eating a
and you and I
McRib.
be sitting there eating McRibs. That would be the
She's
best.
drawing the
That would be
line.
the best ever. I don't want to eat one either, but
No, I'm not doing it.
Yeah,
need
and
a
the
McRib.
best was Jason never had one, so he was saying like, give it to me straight, like, is it good or is it disgusting? And I was like, yes, both. Yes. But he did like it, but Julia was like, oh man.
It's not like I've never had one. I just don't
It
want to
can be
have it
both.
again.
I would eat it.
it can be both.
You would do it again?
Yeah.
Got a good fortune.
All right.
I have one too.
My fortune's good.
All right, Cassidy, you start the fortunes there.
It says, even CSI Miami would gulp at the sight of you.
I mean, I feel like that could be a compliment too, right?
I don't know. I saw a photo shoot that y'all did with holding like fake hearts and blood everywhere and
It was a
stuff.
pig heart.
was
It
a real
wasn't
heart.
fake. It
It was
wasn't
a pig
fake
heart.
It
Pig
was a what?
a pig heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pigs look more like human hearts. Pigs'
Oh.
hearts look more like human hearts. They're bigger.
It freaks me out even more.
It was real.
Okay.
We made the blood though,
Yeah.
not with ourselves. With
Yeah. We
Kitchen
didn't.
ingredients.
We didn't create. Yeah.
We manufactured it non-biologically.
Yep.
All right, Jerry, you're up.
I'd live. Shit just makes me sad. We're not eating these anymore.
Oh no.
I'd like to give you some good news, but then I'd have to lie.
Oh, that's terrible.
Okay. Then mine's very sad too. Today just isn't your day. Unfortunately, neither is tomorrow.
That's great. I can't even read this.
Come
This is
on.
not bad. You have
No.
to read mine. I can't read it. I can't see
physically
it.
You know what?
can't
That
read
the
it?
writing is a little.
Okay, Eric.
I can't see it.
Listen.
Wait, I don't even know.
I don't even know what it says yet. No, I'm
I
just.
don't even want to hear it. No.
You're not even as great as you think you are.
You want to bet?
Keep that.
You should
Actually-
add that to the show somehow.
Yeah.
That needs to be like your tagline underneath. of your-
Yeah, yeah.
I'm going to use this somehow. I'm going to
Yeah.
stick this right
Work that
here.
in.
Work that in at some point. All right.
Crumbs.
So,
You need to get like a sidekick, like an announcer, someone who announces you onto the show.
I do.
Welcome, everyone. The man who's not even as great as he thinks he is. Piss him off, and you can't hear what he's saying about you back
You didn't
there.
hear Johnny Rotten. He brings me in every show. You didn't say that?
Hello.
At the very beginning.
Yeah, you don't hear him saying hello.
Hello.
I didn't know that's who that was.
I didn't know who that was either.
Yeah, I didn't know it was that's who it
Sounds
was.
like a well-mannered British comedian or something.
Yeah.
No, it's that's what it is.
Oh, wow.
It's not him. I've tried. I haven't been able to get that done yet. I'm working on it.
Oh, you should. That would be cool.
I'm trying. I'm trying to get him on the show. Actually, I'm trying to work
wow.
that angle too at some point coming up here.
That would be cool.
That would be amazingly cool. And it's funny because I mentioned that to people and they're like, dude, I got to be there. I'm like, yeah, you can come. Meanwhile, I got like 50 people cramped in here. And
Set him out in a parking lot.
He will have an anxiety attack. All right. So, what is up with the award culture that we're in? I mean, why does everybody want a special award? Why do people lust for awards? Why do people campaign for awards? Why do people lust after them because they just have to have them? They obsess. And why are people so devastated when they lose?
Because we're not even as great as we think we are.
It's like
It took me 5 sentences before you chimed in there, but you got it.
oh my god.
Because you're not even as great as you believe you
The
are.
fortune cookie already told you why.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So what is up with it? And let me throw context here. So there's always been award shows and awards for this and corporate awards and political awards and, trophies for achievement and all that stuff. I do understand that I can give some credence to achievement-based awards. I almost can be okay. I can see that. But the awards that come because of a popularity contest or winning a popularity contest are even less valid in the big picture to me. I just don't understand why, as a people, we crave the external validation of others before we validate ourselves. And it's pretty apparent to me that because awards are such a big fucking deal, we have to win awards. Not winning achievement or competitive stuff, but you got to win an award or win a game so you can hold the trophy or get the ribbon for the race or something. Why do we need that, and why are we obsessed by it?
See, the second kind that you mentioned, I'm cool with. Direct competition in a well-defined competition.
Category.
No, not category. Like when you're competing against
Fairly
others.
matched against
'Cause
someone of equal or
that's what I
greater
mean. Whether
talents.
it's athleticism or whether
Yeah.
it's chess. People get chess
Yeah.
awards. You know what
people
I mean?
burn more calories playing chess than they do in a lot of competitive
I
sports.
believe that.
It's because the mental,
Fun fact.
yeah, the mental,
believe that.
like stimulation that, in
Right?
chess tournaments,
Sitting
they've like
there with
done.
your head smoking.
Yeah, they've done studies and like literally people like their metabolism is greater than when. Yeah, it's insane.
I totally believe that. When
Yeah.
I'm stressed out at my desk, sometimes I'm like, I would burn. It would take less energy to go out there and work all day. Sometimes that's true. Sometimes it's not.
Yeah, it depends on the
But
day.
I think I'm good with awards when it's for a competition that's well defined. People who know they're competing with each other, and the whole point is
Is
to
that an award, or is that kind of like
maybe it's not.
okay,
Maybe it's a championship. Maybe I don't like awards.
yeah, awards almost sound like something that was given for
Yeah.
a reason.
I don't know.
right?
I think we're getting into semantics though, because
Okay.
when you like, if you're talking about the like Olympiads, he was awarded the gold medal in, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I get
And
some-
like
Yeah.
Olympics, a gold medal in Olympics, I feel like that's
That's
some big shit.
impressive.
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
competed with people from
Now,
all over the
but
globe.
see, you used it as, I'm thinking about an award as a
Yeah.
noun. You're using it as a verb. in
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
instance.
That's what I mean.
So,
They don't really refer to a gold medal or a.
A medal's different. That sounds
a
like
championship.
A medal almost sounds
I get it.
like a competitive
Yeah,
token.
I think that's the difference between an award and a championship.
Okay.
But or maybe awards and other things like how we were talking about earlier with like in business and things like that is maybe that a way for people that aren't athletic to get the experience.
No, because we talked about it. There's chess awards.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
chess trophies. There's like a trophy, right?
yeah.
There's got to be.
Yeah, there is.
You can compete in chess and get a trophy.
So what makes it different though, I guess?
As somebody who doesn't really excel in anything, I haven't gotten like a lot of
Holy
trophies.
shit! You've had too many fortune cookies.
You read that right off of
Stop
Fortune Cookie,
reading
didn't
those
you?
fortune.
I-
Just eat the cookie. Don't read the fortune.
I just like I didn't
fucking
grow
your head
up
up.
getting trophies. I didn't like, but you can still be. I think you can still be happy for the people that get them. But this,
You've been seriously like you hung out with Lucas too, as someone who's not
Yeah.
good at anything. It sounds like
someone
something George
who's not.
Costanza would say.
Exactly.
and it
Exactly.
wasn't. That was
Oh my God.
that was being real. It wasn't. That was being
That was
realistic.
one of the most unintentionally funny things I think I've ever heard.
I think if I've ever gotten like awards for anything, it's like you've been here the longest, you know, things like that.
You
But-
waited it out.
Longevity award.
The longevity award. You've been here 20 years. It's awesome.
Oh my god.
But interesting thing that's happened to me, like just in this past month, there were two different instances where there were elementary school teachers that had talked to me about dealing with parents, which God bless. But they were saying that, you know, there's these kids that get like straight A's, very highly intelligent kids in you know, elementary school, but their parents can't accept that they're just good students. They want them in the gifted
Right.
program, and they fight to get them in the gifted program like my child is gifted. And these teachers said, like, it's so hard. These parents don't want to accept, like, your kid is very smart, very, you know, your kid is exceptional in that, but like the gifted program is
The above and beyond and
yeah,
then some.
you have a gift, like you
Yeah.
can think. And I was like, what's wrong with your kid just being smart? Why do they have to be gifted? Like why you know, so I think that starts pretty early on. That says a lot.
It does say a lot. But it's a problem.
Yeah. Like how is just doing your best and being this sounds so cheesy, but like doing your best, being yourself. How is that not enough?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Why do you have
You're
to be
good enough. You're smart enough. And God darn it, people like you.
What's that, Handley? What was his name?
Can we
I
get
don't
that
know.
on a fortune?
Pat, that was
No. Hand. That's Handley. His last name was Handley. It was a motivational speaker on SNL. It was,
Yeah, I know it was SNL.
We're all going home and watching SNL
You're
reruns.
good enough.
I know.
I got it confused with It's Pat.
Yeah, that's different.
Yeah.
Could you imagine that movie coming out today?
Oh, wow.
No. There's
Pat.
a lot of movies that I couldn't imagine coming out
Yeah.
today.
It's true.
Oh,
Right.
no. Oh,
You can't
no.
say that anymore.
You will get fired just for writing that screenplay. You will get fired from a job that you don't even have yet.
And you will not win the award.
That's when today's just not your day and neither is tomorrow comes in.
The fortune cookies were a good idea.
I know. Very good conversation starters.
I just don't understand why we have to win something. Again, my mind is blown because so many things about society show that we're craving individuality and we want to be special and be recognized for being special. And we're really we're at the top of the heap, right? We want to be there. Yet we are so quick to join a fucking team and and capitulate our individuality to be part of a group. It's such a dichotomy to me. I don't get it. Like, I'm trying to really grasp, like, what are we? Are we groupthink or do we crave individuality? But this thing about awards is nuts. People lose awards and then they'll complain about it. Like, I was bypassed for this award and I think it's unjust. And you'll see campaigns for people to win them, and then when they lose, there's campaigns to talk about the injustice of it all. It's fucking crazy.
Well, I think you bring up a good point, Cass. If this is literally starting elementary school, where there's like parents that are like really not okay with the fact that their kid didn't get accepted in the gifted program, or that their kid didn't get the dance championship, or all these other things. It's like there is a culture of kind of pushing that idea of being the best, individuality or whatever, but then how do you get to be the best if you're not compared against other people? So then you have to join a team, and then you have to kind of like excel in that team, and then be like the top of the heap in that team. But you need to almost like create these little groups so that you can prove that you're the best of that group, because otherwise there's always gonna be someone that's better than you.
It's good to be good.
That is the single
All right,
best,
sir.
most prophetic line ever uttered in this room under
good
any
to be
podcast
good.
ever.
Wait, but I wasn't finished. It gets better.
It's better to be better.
Sort of. It's good to be good, but isn't it better to be the best because everybody else isn't as good as you? It's one thing to be really good and to be recognized for it, but it's another thing to be elevated among everybody else.
And when you win.
Whether it's implicit or implied, not only are you good, you're better
Than all these people.
all these other ones. Like, we've elevated you above them all, and you're even better by comparison because they're not as good.
But why do we need that? Like, why can't it just be
Because it feels good.
because it's good to
Here's
be
the
good?
thing: is that I think that there is like a healthy form of competition. Like
Smartest dumb thing I ever said.
that could be a fortune.
You suck. You should get like a Howard Stern button, just like, you suck.
I might.
That's actually
Don't laugh. I might do that.
But what I was thinking was like, so you're talking about competition and like how you do like championships, Jer. You were saying that, So,
That I'm good with. Because
okay.
people train their whole lives. Like, that is
Right.
excellence.
Right. And
Whether it's athletic or something else.
And I think that there is like a form of that in everything. And as someone that's maybe not as good. Do you know what's so funny is that the one thing that I got at work not that long ago is I finished this like mentoring program, and so they gave everybody a plaque. But for whatever reason,
You participated?
my plaque didn't say anything about what it actually was. Like mine was like misprinted.
And that's the point. That's my whole point.
So mine just said Julia Mulligan, like
here.
nutrition. It was like nutrition program, and then like all the other ones said like something about the mentoring. Like they all had like extra text, and mine was like they like missed a whole spot of the text on mine. It said the date, and that was
That's insulting.
But it's on my desk. God damn it! Because I wanted a reminder that I did complete that thing, and even though it doesn't say what I completed on there,
You did something.
I did do something, and I can't prove it. So, but either way, I think excellence is what I was getting back to. That like I think that it's important. Like I think it's important to have kind of like parameters and like goalposts and things to like judge on. Like
Of course.
what is like success. And success looks different for different people. And so I think that like maybe originally awards were well-intentioned in a way to kind of like show success for people in, you know, specific fields, specific areas. And then I think that as culture kind of developed and people did become so like, we want to be inclusive, which in and of itself is a good thing. You know what I mean? However, like the whole idea of participation trophies, all that kind of stuff, I think that's been pretty much like beaten to death. But truthfully, that is still happening. Like I've talked to parents that have said like, yeah, like that's a thing. Like they literally just give out these participation.
I got a participation trophy growing up
What'd you get? For what?
for playing soccer.
Because you played.
Because I played, yeah.
You were on the team.
I was proud of that shit too.
Yeah, I bet.
I don't know why.
It felt good.
I
did
might have
feel
gotten
good.
Yeah, I
one
liked
of
my
those,
plaque. I wish
yeah.
it said more.
Were
did
you
feel good.
good? And was it good?
I mean,
Were you better than
I
anybody
was
else?
happy about the trophy. I don't think I was particularly good. No, and I do think it sent me the wrong message.
See, okay, so
I think it sent me the wrong. I think that's where shit started to go wrong. Since we were talking earlier
south.
about the whole therapy session, and I alluded to some issues that I've had. It all started with that
oh shit.
fucking participation trophy. I asked to eat in the other room just so I could be in there with my trophy. I wish my dad would have been like, "What'd you do to get that trophy?"
Oh, man.
That's my trophy. I paid for you to go to soccer. That's all you did was show up.
You weren't the best at anything.
Not at soccer.
Is there a film from those soccer games?
I don't think so.
Probably
Well,
not.
no, yeah.
No.
That might have been
That was
pre-videotape.
There was some sort of video. But it would have been the days like when
where
the
it's
shit
huge
was like,
and maybe like only two
it would have looked like a
families had
movie
one.
producer was out there making a movie about soccer.
Oh my God. So I had a birthday party once where we had one of those camcorders that we borrowed from someone because not everybody had them at this stage in life. And I had a talent show at my birthday party. So
Did you win an award?
I would say we didn't make any awards for them. Unfortunately, we didn't judge them or anything, but you could just get up and do your own talent. And I can't remember what mine was because I probably wasn't that.
Speaking as a group who's never been particularly good at anything, we're going to trash on you overachievers and talk shit about your awards.
Fuck you. Fuck your awards.
I'm going to give somebody awards just a big middle finger.
Yeah.
They have those. I'm sure you can buy those. That's a novelty item.
But
We
honestly,
should-
like
we
that,
should do that.
should that be your goal, is to win an award? Or should it just be like, do your best? Like if somebody else gets the award, are you supposed to be like completely devastated by that? I mean, I can't be the best Julia. I can't be the best Jerry. I can't be the best Eric. I can only
You could
be
probably-
the best Cassidy.
You could probably beat me out for the best Jerry award.
I don't know.
He's
The
pretty
bar's low
mediocre.
over there.
I can't do the coffee in the SUV thing.
that's
He'll
true.
have an open mug
He
of
has
coffee
skills,
and
yeah.
be able
Yeah.
to drive
He's
with
got
one hand.
skills.
I'm
Can't do
good at
that.
coffee. Not even making it, just drinking it.
I mean, as someone
I'm okay with that.
that makes your coffee, I'd say you're really good at drinking it.
I'm good at that. I'll take that.
We all have
I'll
skills.
take that as a win.
Yeah.
You suck.
That's what we should put on the trophy.
You suck.
My grandmother, she had a middle finger like a statue of
I
just
remember that. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, and it was like up in her window, and the back of it said, "For all my loving friends." I was like, "That's cool as
Wait,
shit,
hold on.
Grandma." I know. I saw I saw the metal fingers. I think that's what reminded me of it.
Oh,
Eric.
yeah. Oh, you can
happens for
change
the rest
Oh,
of
it's
the show?
posable.
There
There
we
you
go.
go.
That is cool.
Perfect.
I say this all the time, but this is the coolest room I've ever been in.
Yeah,
I
not
know.
this, it just got cooler.
There you go.
We love this
Yeah.
room.
My
Yeah.
grandmother
Thank
had
you.
that in her window.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know.
I was like, that's
your,
cool as shit,
Your grandma was very cool.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Mom, when you see this.
I know.
My mom says to me, "Yeah, I really love watching your shows." And,
But we-
and the show you had, oh my gosh, and with the husband and wife, and then Cassidy, because that show was so funny. I'm like, oh, I'm glad, Mom. She goes, but you really got to watch your language.
Oh God.
Sorry, Mom.
Sorry, Mom.
You
Not
know what?
y'all, just me.
I'm apologizing to you, Mom.
We're apologizing for you to your mom.
Someone has to.
We're encouraging him.
You know what my parents had said when they watched it? My mom had said, she's like, I watched it first and then I was going to show your dad. And she was like, but then you guys were talking about an orgy and I didn't know if I should. And I was like, what orgy? And then you were talking about it, the rape.
orgy.
Screaming orgy.
Oh,
It's a
yeah,
big
the rape.
scream.
It wasn't even a real orgy.
No.
No, it
just
wasn't a real
metaphysical-
orgy, Dad. Come on, Dad.
It wasn't
wasn't
even a real orgy.
No.
They have awards for orgies too, I'm sure.
The first, I mean,
Who's
that's
giving those out?
Now that's an award worth winning.
I was about to say, all
Giving
the,
those out.
you know, it's not about who wins or
There's
loses.
a panel of judges.
It's not about who wins or loses. It's about how you play the game.
Yeah, in that instance, that's true.
I think it comes down to, do you like what you do? Are you good at what you do? Sometimes you suck at what you do, but if you enjoy it, now you shouldn't get an award for sucking at what you do and
No.
enjoying it.
Okay.
Right.
Well, if you're at the orgy, it's a whole different ball game there, right?
Yeah, you're gonna get booted out pretty quick.
The pity award. It's just a trophy that said, you tried.
You showed up. Participation trophy.
I can't remember. It was some comedian. He was like,
Participation trophy.
he was talking about like how hot his wife is, and he's like, I'm just happy to be involved.
Oh yeah, I do remember that. Yes, I do remember that. Oh my God, it's great.
So we were talking about awards here.
I don't think we came up with any
None
good
of us have
resolutions
won
on
any.
that one.
We've established that none of us have gotten a
I
valid
think
award
all that
or
shit does is
anything.
create a bunch of resentment. You know what I mean?
Sometimes, yeah.
And I think
why?
I stand by what I said. Like, it's just to elevate you above everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if the point is a competition, well, yeah, that's the whole point. We're going to find out
Right.
who's the best.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're not doing something that entails finding out who's the best, why do you need to take one person and be like, even if you don't say in the award ceremony, well, you're the best at this among this group, it's kind of implied, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it just a moment to recognize someone's achievements and their accomplishments? Like, the one thing I don't dig on the whole, like, you know, the Emmys and the Oscars and all that other shit. I think that's just a bunch of ass kissing. But they used to do something called the Lifetime Achievement Award.
Oh yeah.
I think that's
yeah.
cool. Here's somebody who's not currently on all the covers and shit, you know what I mean? Like, they're not hot right now,
Yeah.
but we want to take a look at the lifetime achievement
The
of this
culmination.
person and everything. Yeah, like take somebody like Betty White and be like, look at all the cool shit this person did in their
She's
life.
still
her.
living.
Let's take a moment to do that
Yeah.
before this person dies so
Of
that they
COVID.
can actually enjoy it
Yeah.
rather than just have a nice
Right.
funeral for someone. Like,
Right.
you know, we
And
always
let me
notice
know-
how
Let
special
her know
someone
we
is.
appreciate her.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
notice how special somebody is when they die.
Yeah.
That's a good
Very
example. So that
unfortunate.
there's an award that's given out of kindness.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I
Right.
like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's very subjective, though. It's the only problem.
Well, okay. So let's put the word award over here, because what we're talking about, competitive events, sports or not, that you achieve and then against others, and then there's a winner or
Yep.
groups of winners.
Yep.
I don't think what they get, that trinket to show their excellence, is really an award. Awards are things
Yeah, I get
that are
what you're saying.
subjective, popularity contests, competitions that may be derived from, I don't know, the opinions of others, of other people.
See, it's like
those
almost
kind
like
of things.
they start that stuff like early on. Like, I mean, like, what about like homecoming queen and king and all that stuff like that? Like,
Exactly.
but then again,
That's
it's
the
like,
epitome of a popularity
it
contest.
is. But then think about it this way. Like, we're talking about like woke culture and all this kind of stuff. Of like, do we really want to take that away because like we don't think that like they should have it anymore because it's too, you know? I don't know.
I don't want to take anything. I don't take anything
I
away.
honestly
Oh,
don't
no.
know.
I don't.
I don't know.
What I'm saying is, I don't. No. I would never suggest taking anything away from anybody. If someone wants to do something, God bless them. I'm just saying I find it odd that society appears to be dependent of this lustful ego thing that seems to be so prevalent in society, that we need to have the spotlight put on us, or we need to achieve something or be better than someone else, and sometimes when we don't get it, we feel we deserve it, then we're just spiteful about it.
I
It's
think-
really shallow.
That's a good point.
Right.
Really shallow.
Yeah, like
And-
why can't we just be happy for the king and queen and be
Yeah.
happy with what we have? Like,
Yeah.
why do we have to
But
be
here's
that?
there's plenty of little examples of the award. It's the recognition, whether you get recognized to do something.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I was kind of thinking about it while you were talking. Like sometimes you don't get recognition for the hard work you put in, or for going to get the donuts for the meeting, or
Mm-hmm.
for shoveling someone else's walk. And I
I'm
think
paid. That's my recognition. Pay
Sure,
me.
but I mean, like, I might shovel. I mean, I have not done that in a long time. I'm not going to make it sound like I'm some great guy. I think at some point in my life, I have shoveled
You
someone
did.
else's walk.
You did our neighbors.
No,
one
no,
time.
we don't want to. No, don't.
Okay, don't tell people.
Yes. No.
But would you do that because you were expecting a thank
That
you?
is the point, and that's what I'm saying. Like, okay, if someone recognizes you for what you've done, it's nice. Just like if someone wants to give somebody an award, like that's not a shitty thing. That's a nice thing. It's nice.
Yeah.
But if that person has done their best every day and someone is recognizing them for, like you said, for their accomplishment, it's cool. If it's a popularity contest, okay, it's stupid. It's not necessarily harmful, but yeah, it's just kind of dumb. But I think for the individual, you were talking about, like, you know, why do we all say we strive for individuality, but then we clamor to be recognized for what we're doing by everyone else? It's like the recognition thing. If you're doing it just to do it because that's what you do every day, and you're just trying to be the best, and you shovel someone else's walk because you want to help them out, or you got the donuts for the meeting because you wanted to make sure that everybody got to
Because
stuff
you're a
their
nice person. Because
or
you're practicing
whatever.
kindness.
But that's what I
right?
mean. Like you said, people get upset when they don't get the award. Are you doing these nice things because you want recognition and because you want that ego gratification
Sure.
of other people thinking you're a hard worker
Right.
and that you're a good person and
You're
that you-
describing most of society.
that's
You
what I
realize
mean,
that.
though. So, like, if you're doing what you're doing, just like I'm sure there's people who are working their asses off just to get that award, and they don't enjoy what they're doing. Maybe they used to, you know? And then whether you get the award or not, once you give up on doing what you're doing for you or for the sake of doing it just to be recognized, then whether you get that award or not, I think it really becomes kind of a hollow victory.
It really is about the human condition. When you sit and think about it.
Yeah.
This is bothering me. It's wearing me out.
Don't bring that negativity into this room.
There you
I just
go.
talked about how much I love
There
this
you
room.
go.
There we go.
There you
Okay,
go.
that's
Yeah,
better.
good. I like
Okay.
that.
All right. So,
Arthritis.
Wait
There
a
you go.
second.
That's how my fingers look at the end of the day.
Oh God,
That's painful.
that's making me cringe a little.
wait. There you go.
Where the heck did you get that?
IKEA.
Are you
Oh,
serious?
yeah,
The night
they
I put the
that's
studio
right.
together,
They
it
have
just-
a bunch
I
of
had
those.
it.
Yeah.
Oh wow, I have to make a trip there for.
Can you
Okay.
make it do the Spock thing? It doesn't bend that way, huh?
I can make this do a lot of gestures.
Oh my!
Yeah, wait. Oh, wait. What's the Spock thing?
You can do it with my
Oh,
left.
no,
Which
I
hand?
don't think
I
it-
can do it with one hand. I
doesn't
can't
go.
do
It
it.
Do it with
doesn't
my
go
left, too.
sideways. No, it just.
I can.
can't
You know what's
do it
so
with my
weird?
right.
I can do that with my left
Me
hand.
too.
I cannot do it with my
Me
right
either.
to save my life. Nerves are weird.
I know.
I was going to
Things
give you
I
guys
learn
an
on this
award,
show.
but if you can only do it with one
Wait,
hand,
wait! I got it! I got it!
I can't.
I got it.
I can't justify giving.
Wait,
oh.
I got
okay,
it.
Julia's doing it.
I
then.
got it. It was really hard.
That was so hard.
Yours was so easy. How'd you do it like that?
All right, I can't do it with either hand.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
You can't do it at
Can
all?
you roll your tongue?
No?
Some people can't. I can do it.
You guys didn't believe me. I said I can't do anything.
You're not getting the award.
Well,
I'm
we
not.
just had to prove it.
Yeah. It's
She's sitting there all like,
it's true.
Have you ever encountered a person who was really upset that they didn't win a particular award, whatever that award might have been, and they actually, like, it bothered them to the point where, you know, it became a thing in their consciousness for a while, and you heard about it as their friend, you know, and it's happened to me on multiple occasions. People that should have won things. I mean, like, the easiest one would be elections, right? If you know someone who had an election or ran for local council or something and lost, because elections are a popularity contest, right? So you're trying to win competitively, but then they lose and they just can't fucking take it, you know? It's like, it's just that whole, I love competition. I love, I'm the biggest baseball fan in the world. I love sports, you know, in general. So I get it, but man, I don't care about being recognized by anybody for anything that I do. You know, like I want to get paid for the work I put into my career. I want to have fun doing this. It's like people were saying, well, you know, what's your reach on your show? Do you monitor the likes or the comments? No, I just don't, because I don't have any expectations. If this was a monetary thing, I would try to figure all that out. But,
Sure.
you know, I'm having fun. And
You're not coming at it from a business angle.
no, but I think that's symptomatic of my life. If it's a business circumstance, I want paid, the money and being the freedom and doing what I want to do. That's the reward.
Sure.
Not because the guy down the street. When my clients tell me I do a great job, it means a lot. It's personal to me. But I don't need them to write a letter and hang it on the wall. I don't need to get a plaque. I don't need my broker to give me a plaque based on anything. I'm okay. Like, that's not important to me. So am I just weird? Or is there more people like me out there that just don't give a shit?
No, there's plenty of people who don't. But I mean, some people do crave validation.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just and I mean, come on, it feels good.
Yeah.
Right? Somebody's
I was
like,
gonna
you
say,
know
like,
what?
I don't dislike
I see
it.
the way you do your thing over there, and I think you're really good at what you do. Like,
Again, that's
who doesn't
kindness,
like
though.
that?
That's just
I got
kindness.
Anxiety, though. Some people
Yeah.
can't handle compliments.
No, we were
That
just talking about
sucks.
that.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
What a miserable thing.
Oh, you know what? And I hate when I give someone a compliment that doesn't take it well, and I'm just like, okay, forget I said anything.
I take it back.
But no, I got
I take my
recognized
compliment
in our meeting this morning because I worked by myself over the weekend, and I was like, you
And
know,
you
it's
did a
like
fine job, too. I'm just going to let you know that.
I did actually. I did. But
I believe it. I believe it.
But like, you know, you hear your name, and they're like, and Julia, she said she stepped up and she said that she was okay working. And I was just like, I did step up, didn't I?
Yeah, not just validation, but attention. I
Yeah.
used to really
I know.
crave attention, which is not something that I like to admit.
Lead
but
singer
yeah.
syndrome.
Yeah.
No,
Front man.
I think
I'm
we all
teasing.
had that. I've
There's a
had
whole
that.
podcast called that.
Certainly.
I'm teasing.
No.
I know. That was comical. I wasn't sitting like, oh God, shut up.
I
used to
do think
really crave
being
attention.
being really genuine here. I think just being in, like being a fan of the local music scene. I do think the two of you have done a lot for the local music scene that you guys don't get a lot of credit for, and you continue to do it, even though you're not getting maybe the.
We're not doing much right now.
not right now.
Slackers.
But,
Point that out.
People shout us.
but
People
you know,
We do. We get some recognition.
People
It's-
shout us.
It's
But
appreciated.
you don't do it for that, see?
that's
There's
what
a passion
that's what I was about
involved,
to say. I don't
Yeah.
feel like it's necessarily like you guys do it so you can get that, and maybe that's
No.
why it's more authentic, and maybe it's been more of a successful scene that way.
Well, and that's what I was alluding to earlier. You know, if you get to the point where you're doing it for the validation and the recognition, I think it's a hollow victory. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because I've been in that spot where you're just doing something for attention, where you're just I mean, come on, we were all teenagers who didn't want to be cool. I wanted to
Yeah.
be cool. I wanted people to think I was cool.
Me too.
You know, I wanted to be cool. Who doesn't want to be cool? Some people really don't want to be cool. I'm like, I always wanted to be cool.
I know.
I would see my favorite actor, like
true.
Mel Gibson and Lethal Weapon. I'm like, he's fucking cool. I want to be cool like that. And then, I don't know. I started acting cool, and I was like, man, I'm a real dickhead now. I don't feel cool anymore because I realized that I'm just doing this for other people's validation. It's just not genuine, you know? And I think, we talk about people who are celebrities and who end up, everybody thinks they're so happy, like, and then they end up committing suicide or I don't know, you just
Like
find
drug
out somehow
problems,
that
drug
people are
problems.
miserable. Like, it's not just like, I think you touched on something bigger. It's not just about, well, this person got an award for doing whatever it is they do. Look at, we talked about on the last podcast, social media, and it's just people with this lifestyle obsession where we want everyone to look at us and think we got it together, like however we want to be perceived. And it's a psychological thing. We want to be perceived in this light. And I mean, yeah, I want people to think I'm a good guy, but I'm not going to go out of my way to convince somebody who doesn't think I'm a good guy that I'm a good guy. Because if I have to sit here and tell you what a good guy I am, chances are I'm getting ready to try and sell you some shit. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I've got something over here that I want you to buy or that I'm trying to con you. Like anybody who screams so loud that I'm a good person, I'm this, I'm that, it's like, yeah, don't tell me, show me.
Oh, they don't believe it themselves.
Sure. Absolutely. And I think that's where the
And
validation comes
they're
in.
trying to convince themselves.
Yeah,
of that.
people are overcompensating for insecurities. If other people believe it, then I can believe it. But it doesn't really work in my experience. You know what I mean? As many people who thought I was a good person when I was doing things just to kind of fill a hole in my life and to kind of, whoa, we lost power. What happened?
Oh, yeah, that happens sometimes.
I did not do it.
That's all right.
I'm freaked out now.
It's that power grid in Texas. Oh, yeah, we lost all the bulbs.
I don't know. I think it's I don't know. There's a.
Maybe I did do it.
That's all right. Don't worry about it. We're good.
But it never worked.
Next piss break, we'll fix it.
Yeah, it never worked for me. You know what I mean? When I was chasing something to be seen in some way through other people's eyes, I had this vision of myself, and I wanted to convince other people of it. I wanted to project that out there because I thought in my head that would make it real.
Right.
But it didn't. You know what I mean? I wasn't that person. People, even if they really thought I was that person, I really wasn't that person. I was really insecure, and in some ways I was really shallow because I was just trying to get the validation of other people. And then when that doesn't work, well, now I still want attention, but it's negative attention.
Mm-hmm.
Now I just want to be what, I don't know, the worst thing that everyone thinks I might be because I tried it one way and that didn't work.
Yeah.
And so now I'm doing it the other way, and now I got my middle finger up because I finally got what I thought I wanted, and it didn't make me feel any better, and now I'm pissed off.
Well, that's the human condition, isn't it? I mean,
I think in a lot of ways, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when you've chased after something your whole life, and then they say hell is when all your wishes, not your dreams, when your wishes come true.
Yeah.
Be careful what you wish for.
True.
I've heard that said like about like celebrityism or celebritydom. What do they call it? Celebritydom.
Celebritydom.
Is that the word?
Celebritydom dum
Dum,
dum
dum, dum, dum. But anyway,
I learned so much on this show.
I've just heard that it's very
I forget things I learned on this show.
Yeah, right. I've heard it's very lonely and it's very boring.
At the top, it is.
Actually.
It is.
And
Come
then,
on
like-
up. I was room.
Where the air is crisp.
What was that from? What movie was that from?
Girl Next Door.
Oh gosh, yeah. Oh my god,
That was a good movie.
It was.
it was a really good movie.
So where are we going with that?
Oh, just that like. Anyway, celebritydom.
Num 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 num.
Just that it can actually be really boring and lonely.
Yeah.
Because it's isolating. You
No
know what I
doubt.
mean? Like you don't have the freedom to just like go about your life. And especially for some people that spent all that like a big part of their life's journey was getting there.
Right,
You know what I mean? Like
right,
it's such a struggle because it happens to so few people. And so like, you know, by comparison, I think we think now about like what is a real celebrity, and now we've got this whole different class of celebrities that are like, you know, social media celebrities, which is basically what the younger kids are like gravitating
Fascinated by.
towards now, which
Yeah. Well, because they think it's attainable because those folks became celebrities and they were nobodies ahead of time.
Yeah, there's no
So it's-
gatekeeper there.
And they're
You
not
just have to be
relying on,
popular
like-
Exactly
enough.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you just have to catch on. You got to go viral.
they're not relying on like network television or, you know, just all like all the
No gatekeeper.
Right. It's
Well,
exactly
it's,
right.
like Neil Armstrong, how he became an alcoholic. Because how do you?
Top going to the moon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like you do.
You do the thing that like you've spent all your
Yeah.
time thinking about doing.
Or he
And
was
then-
hiding a secret and he was just tearing him up inside that he can't reveal because he saw the aliens on the ridge.
Or he never even went to the moon. We don't know.
Or he never went there.
Team C. You got to represent Team C at least once on this
I
podcast.
know. It could be a multitude of things.
It could
Yeah,
be.
we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Yeah, but,
But
good
it-
point though. Like, what does he? What do you do next?
Yeah, and what
Yeah.
if you get there and it's not what you
Imagine being out on a
thought?
date. You know, like, what do you do from? Well, I went to the moon. I mean, you know, so if she gets tired of that and bored with that, what can you possibly
do
say
now?
that's going to?
Oh, wow. This was an
Right.
episode of freaking Big Bang Theory where one of them went up in space and he couldn't stop talking about it.
Oh,
And all his friends got. He
yeah.
brought it up in every
Yeah.
conversation. He didn't do much. He was just up there.
He was just there.
He was
Yeah.
a scientist supporting
Yeah.
it, but every time he was in a conversation with anybody, he would talk about how he went to space. And he was all about
And
the
he's just out of
validation.
touch
Yeah.
And
with
he
everybody.
could not. Finally, his girlfriend was like, "Shut up about space. We get it. You went there." And he was talking about like, "I did this really special thing," and I don't know. I guess everyone wants to do something special with their lives, you know. But then,
But then once you do that thing, it's like what then comes next?
yeah. But like the other thing is, a lot of people never get to do whatever that thing is.
That's true.
Right.
Or what if you get there and it's just not as grand as you
Didn't
thought
see
it
any.
was. Yeah. So
Well, and I
like,
think you're
and-
seeing that in a lot of, and this is a big part of the human condition of like what's happening now, because there is this lifestyle obsession. So everyone's kind of like, you get the house and the family, you have the designer wedding, and you have the kids, and then you name them some crazy thing, and then you freaking decorate, all this stuff, and like, and you get the designer sheets and the fucking whatever, all this other stuff, and then people keep trying.
High thread count.
High thread count. Yeah, I know. I know how you feel about the sheets. Okay, we've talked about that.
That's an important thing.
We've gotten out of bed in the middle of the night and changed sheets.
They were itchy.
It's an important
Can
thing,
you sleep
man.
with itchy sheets?
No. And I don't
Case
want any
closed.
cotton
Listen.
sheets to feel like satin. If it feels like a satin thing, I'm not
Just
into
slide
that.
right out of
Jerry,
Whoa!
Jerry had satin sheets when I met him in high
Whoa!
school. He totally did.
Whoa!
He had
Here we
black
go.
satin sheets on his bed in high
Nice.
school.
They would stain too easy, right?
You wash them.
Oh yeah,
You
novel
wash
idea.
He said, whatever.
Yeah, somehow we got off the award thing.
On the
We
sheets.
could
Black satin
bridge that
We got off the award and onto the sheets.
She's just putting it all out there.
Maybe.
This guy had black.
And immediately he won an award with
I'm gonna
me.
get phone calls after this podcast.
Hey,
I got nothing.
Billy Squire had a great career going until he made a rock video with red satin seats, and he was bouncing around on that, and it just buried him. That's how his
see that.
career ended. Billy
Yeah.
Squire.
So this is
He had
future
it-
advice. Don't go back
Billy
to the
Squire
sheets.
had a song called "Stroke Me." It was a big. Then he had this album. Don't laugh. Don't
Maybe it
laugh.
was the title of the song.
But then he
that
had,
did it.
then he had that song "Rock Me Tonight," which was a hit, and he did a video for it in '84, and he was like jumping around on his bed with satin sheets and like in groaning and all this stuff, and then done.
Oh, wow.
One
Cross the line.
and done. So satin sheets can,
It's very controversial.
could
I'm
do
sorry I
some
brought
could
it
do
up.
some damage on you there, brother. I'm just putting it out there.
I've got a reputation to uphold here.
Can you edit that out?
Man, I hope to God. Imagine these
Hell
blue,
no.
Imagine the blue collar guys I wear would be like satin sheets, huh?
You're like 16.
Did you win an
Yeah.
award for those satin sheets?
She's sitting there.
Oh! Okay, was that a popularity contest or an achievement?
Ask her.
A little bit of both.
Oh my!
It was
Yes.
just like the spider's web. I caught the fly. I was like, I don't need these sheets anymore.
Okay.
As far as just like science goes too, because that's like color's just like a reflection on the back of your brain from like the rods and cones in your eyes, basically. Like
Seinfeld. My rods and cones are all messed up, Jerry. It's like Kramer. Remember that? Michael?
A friend of ours used to say that.
My rods and cones are all messed up,
A friend
Jerry.
of ours that we used to do serious drugs with. Hardcore drugs with. My rods and cones are all messed up.
My rods and
And they were too.
And they were
rods and cones
too.
are all messed up.
He said, then they were too.
Okay. In your quiet moments alone. I tried to get that out straight face. I knew I wasn't going to be able to do it. In your quiet moments alone, as you lay in quiet desperation.
oh wow.
No, you can pull the desperation part out. In your quiet moments, do you reflect ever on eras of your life, time in your life before the internet? So I'm talking pre-96-ish. Do you ever think back, not just events in your life, but on the context of, wow, what did I do when I didn't have the instant answer to everything at my fingertips? Or I didn't have social media, or I wasn't able to reach out and connect with my friends and family anytime I want to. What was life like back then? And of course, back then you had nothing to compare it to. You didn't know what was coming, right? So it's kind of hard to equate what was better or worse. But, do you ponder back what it was like to live in a world pre-internet? Do you ever think about that?
I don't know if I think of it in those terms.
You've never thought about it like that?
I mean, I'm sure. I mean, I think we talked about it at some point.
Vaguely, yeah.
But when I reflect on times in my life before the internet, I don't think I think about them in those terms.
Okay.
But it's a good question because I think cerebrally we all recognize what an important shift that was you know, the dawn of the internet and everyone being connected and stuff. Because suddenly you could talk to somebody. Now we really don't think about the fact that, hey, last week I had a conversation with someone like in Indonesia or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's trying to steal my credit card number.
Well, sometimes you get the random Facebook call and you're just like,
He's trying to sell me a car warranty.
think about it. Like, I never had
Oh, God.
conversations with people in another country before.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like when I was younger, and now like 7-year-old kids, they can talk to somebody in another country. But here's the thing. I don't know that much more about other people's cultures than I did back then. Maybe it's an age thing, but I don't think we're using the internet to really learn a whole lot. Now, if it's very directed, like, well, I need to know an answer to this, you know what I mean? I need to know how to put up shelf paper, so I'm going to watch a tutorial. But, like, I don't know what life is like day to day in Thailand.
Yeah.
And I could watch something on the internet or talk to somebody on the internet that would give me an idea for what someone else's life in a totally different part of the world is like. Do you guys do that? Do you know what it's like for life?
Well, I've
Life for someone else in another
definitely
part of the world?
heard of people talking about that. Like that's like something I've listened to podcasts where people talk about the fact that that is something that they use the internet for. I myself am not using the internet for that.
Right.
So
And
I
I
think
don't
it's
even-
just done.
Yeah, I don't even think some of the, like you said, some of the other places, they don't use the internet that way. So we might not be able to learn. They're a little bit more private with the information they put out there, is a nice way to put it. And I think, so we might not even be connected to them that way. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely, like, we were kind of the last generation to not
Yep.
have the internet.
Right.
And then
To
we
know what,
got
or
it.
to remember what it's like
Well, and
before there was internet.
Depending on like what your experience was, like for like we were joking earlier about how we didn't have a phone whenever Jerry and I first lived together.
Yeah.
And that was
Cell phone or landline?
No, neither. And just because we were more interested in a different kind of lifestyle. That being the case, I had a computer when I was like, my first computer, I think I was like 14-ish around that when I first got but then when I was 19, 20, 21, 22, I don't think I had one during that time of my life, which was when a lot of people in my age group would have been getting a MySpace page.
Yeah, we totally missed out on MySpace.
Just because we didn't have a phone or a computer during that time.
Yeah.
And so, like, I think it depends on, I think we were able to kind of skirt some of that experience just because of our lifestyle. And I think a lot of people in our demographic had that experience also, that, like, if you were someone that, like, sort of took to the internet and took to computers, there are people that are 10 years older than me. My cousin just was super fascinated with computers as soon as they were available, and so he is more savvy than me, and he's like 13 years older than I am, just because he took to it and really was interested in it. But like, I do reflect on a time when we weren't as available to each other,
Right.
like with technology, and sometimes I try to create that space in my life because I don't want to be available to someone all the time. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be, not someone in particular, just anybody. Like, I just like the idea of, like, the times that I kind of get lost in something that I'm doing, whether it's like something in the house or like at work or exercising or just whatever, that I can't be out at my phone. Like, I really try to, like, enjoy those times. And then it
Yeah.
enjoys the time. I enjoy the time I spend on my phone more if I have those spaces where
Right.
I'm not just like
Good point.
mindlessly looking at it throughout the day just because I can.
And it's amazing how when you're not available, how people expect you to be available.
How it's perceived, yeah.
Yeah. Like when I'm in my car, I put my phone away. I don't want to text
Right.
while I'm driving or anything like that. And it's just too tempting. I know I would do it if it was right there. And, you know, like, how long does it take me to get anywhere? Like half hour at most. And there's times people will be so upset, like, I haven't heard from you, like, what the, and it's just because we're so used to that
Immediacy.
instant. Yeah. And I don't know, like, even when, like, all the internet, it started off so slow for us, like our generation. Like, I remember getting on like AOL and getting on chat rooms.
You got mail.
Yeah, and getting on chat rooms, but I did it with like friends I
Right.
had, or like me and my brother would
Yeah.
like talk to people. So it was already like a social thing. It wasn't like I was getting on there by myself and making friends
Right.
somewhere else, or that type of thing. But it's definitely weird now how instantaneous people feel that it has to be, where I think, like you said, you kind of just try to create boundaries with that. Like, I don't need to be available all the time just because I can be. My free time isn't always my availability.
Right.
You know?
It's healthy to keep a distance. And my biggest failure as a guy my age doing what I do for a living, a realtor, is I've created a bad expectation with my clients, because I've created a bad expectation with the people in my life, that I'm always available and I will get back to you immediately. I mean, and that's a fault that I have. I want to provide good service and be a good friend and good, husband and family member. So I create that illusion that I'm always available. I don't manage it well, and that's a problem. And it's a problem because I can't get away, and I've created the problem, and now I have to find ways of managing that, and it's tough. It's really tough. You create a level of expectation, and it's a self-inflicted wound. So social media and texting, the proliferation of texting, which I went to kicking and screaming about 10 years ago, and in the career that I'm in, the texting, that immediacy is not healthy. I don't believe the texting culture is healthy, period. I think we take it for granted. It's part of our phone. We text. We instant message, or we use Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp or whatever. But the art of texting is too damn immediate, especially when there's read notifications and all that stuff that, the other person knows you've seen it. That's not healthy. I don't think it's healthy. It cuts into our privacy as a human being. And while generation after you, folks that are younger than you, don't know the pre-privacy that we had, they only know this world. I don't know if it's good or bad, but I feel bad for them in a way that they don't know what it's really like to manage that privacy, that time, to create that space, to not let people know. Because, kids are nuts. I see my kids texting, they're having these long-winded conversations via text, and I would imagine their phone's going off, from 7 a.m. all the way to 3 in the morning. That's just the way they live. That immediacy, and I know I struggle with the level I have. I don't think it's healthy.
I watched this, or I was listening to a podcast, and it was talking about task switching, and that's one of the things that our texting culture creates, is that you're constantly multitasking in a way, because you kind of, you're doing what you're doing in front of you, and then you have multiple conversations, whether they're work conversations or private conversations.
You're interrupted.
And say about what you will. In certain ways, I think you can manage it in a way that it can be healthy and enriching, and also, help your productivity. But there's a lot of studies that have been shown that show that it's really not good for our brain's productivity, in the sense that when you're constantly switching from one focal point of your attention to the next, it actually interrupts. It's a constant, you don't get to develop these neural pathways that create kind of a more of a flow state of productivity if you're constantly being distracted. And I
believe that.
And so certain people are it's becoming kind of an in vogue thing to basically tell the people in your life that that I'm not always going to be available, and basically if you really, really need me, you can call me, that kind of stuff. But it's don't expect constant responses.
Yeah.
And I think that it's hard.
I've had to do that.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard because a lot of people don't get it, And I think it's becoming more acceptable, because I think people are realizing that you just don't, just because I'm able to look at my phone and respond doesn't mean that it's the best time for me to do that. Doesn't mean it's you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
and coming from the other side of it too, I think when we text people, when we text our realtor, when we email somebody, we have to understand that they're going to answer us on their time. They also are a human being with, I mean, you don't know what's going on the other side of that phone or the computer. And I don't, even Facebook Messenger and Facebook business where if you have a business on Facebook, it says like typically replies within a day or whatever.
I think it's so destructive.
Yeah,
They
and
tag you,
I think
label you. Because if you don't get back fast enough, they say, well, and they tell you in Facebook business that you're not responding fast enough.
Right.
Yeah.
In the brick and mortar business, I mean, you have hours.
Right.
So I think sometimes that's a little much. Like you said, with you like coming to it kicking and screaming, my dad is still trying so hard. He doesn't want to learn to text. He doesn't want to do any of that stuff. And my mom, they wanted to sign up for getting the COVID vaccine. So they have like one email that they've like shared for like 20 years. I don't even know if my dad knows any of it. So she had to make them 2 new separate emails because she was trying to sign them both up for alerts. And like he was kind of just like, I don't want to deal with it. You do it. So she made them 2 separate emails, and she finally got him to work, and she was trying to like email each other, like email hers and his, so that way she could see if they were set up and working. And so then she just started, my mom's a character, so she just started like emailing herself from my dad's email, like, you're the best wife and you're so beautiful. And that's so cute. So then like she would tell him all the time, like, that was such a sweet email you sent me last night. And he just goes along with it. He's like, I meant every word of it, whatever it said.
That is really sweet, actually.
They need their own show. So then I think how he actually ended up getting a smartphone is because he loved checking the weather all the time. So you would like, he'd have to. So funny. And I remember growing up.
It's such a dad thing.
Such a dad thing. And like growing up, I always say it's so funny too because
it tells the weather.
Do you know what's funny is as I get older, I find that I am checking the weather a lot more frequently.
People always say you turn out like your parents, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm doing shit my dad did that I was like, why does he do that? Now I know why he does it.
I go in there and I'm watching the Weather Channel. I'm like, what are you doing? And they're sitting there in the room together and they're watching the Weather Channel. I'm like,
well, growing up, like it wasn't like it is now. You had one TV.
Yeah.
You had one car. You had one bathroom. That's
life was simpler.
Right. That's what our family had. So I remember my dad coming in and be like, "Can I please change the channel? I got to check the weather because it's coming on right now." So he never wanted a smartphone, and he fought it and fought it and fought it. And then some guy at his work had a smartphone and could check the weather on his phone, and he was like, oh,
"Wait a minute."
He's
Game
like,
changer.
but he still, I mean, he doesn't want to learn to text. And if somebody texts him, he's like, I'm not reading it. I'm not texting you
I
back.
don't care. This thing's for weather. That's
Yes,
it.
it's
This
for
is the weather meter.
He has this phone that can do amazing things, and
Don't defile my weather teller.
he only turns on if he wants to know if it's gonna rain tomorrow. And like I said, I don't think he's ever used any of the emails. I think my mom handles that.
I love how we're laughing because he uses it for some practical. That's so ridiculous.
The email thing, you see, okay, the company I was working for in the mid-'90s was called PageNet, and they contracted to bring, we sold pagers, but we contracted with this company called BlackBerry to bring a device that you actually could email on from your waist, and I thought it was the greatest thing in the world. And at that time, I started this side business at home selling guitars on the interwebs on eBay. And so I was like doing my guitar business and my business with this device that did emails. So I was ahead of the curve for my age group. My age group was kind of like, didn't care about that shit. But I had a reason to be on the web with the business. Mm-hmm. The point was, email was my thing, but it never, while I was on my waist, I never felt compelled to have an email conversation, you see. And there was T9 texting with the phones that, you had to hit the button, like you hit a 1 3 times to put an A or whatever. So I didn't want to be bothered with that. And it wasn't until I got divorced a second time and I had to go into the dating world in like 2009 and 10 that I realized that this texting thing's like a real fucking thing. And I realized it because women were like, wanted my cell number, and I thought they were going to call me or we were going to have phone conversations, but they wanted to text. I fucking hated it. And I just didn't want any parts of it because to me it was just like a pain in my ass. And I had a smartphone, it was a pain in my ass. And then becoming a realtor years later, I realized this is the preferred method of communication for just about everything now. So I was with it, but that email thing was great because you could send an email with no expectation you would hear back from someone for at least a couple hours, right? That was healthy. Texting now is not healthy. I have right now probably 30 different people in 30 different conversation threads in on my phone that are in play, texting clients, appraisers, brokers, and all relative and smart things that I have to be involved with, but there's too much immediacy to all of that when they really don't have to be that immediate. Does that make any sense? And it's driving me mentally insane.
Do you know what, Eric, though? And I will say, like, as someone who's just like got through dealing with like a lot of that kind of stuff, I dealt with most of the stuff with our real estate agent and everything through email. And I do have like my real estate agent's phone number, and we would text briefly about specific things, but like a good portion of like what I did, and I didn't see it as any slight. I'm just talking about from a consumer standpoint, just to maybe for in the future if you want to set some boundaries.
Well, no, I'm the one screwing it up. I absolutely. I've created I've created immediate expectation,
right?
Or an expectation of immediacy with my clients. I've done that.
Well, in business, I will
fault.
say, like, and in any kind of business, even when we were setting up shows and doing promotions for that, and I used Facebook Messenger a lot because, you're creating the Facebook event page. So that's where a lot of those conversations would take place. If I really needed something from someone, like, immediately, I tried not to get in those situations because, like, honestly, you just can't expect that if, like, you need somebody's address or phone number or, like to email or to mail physical tickets or something, that for an example, or to like drop something off for somebody. If you need that information or if you need that response in like less than 5 hours, you put yourself in that position with that person that like you created such a state of urgency. Like if it's business related, I feel like there needs to be like some accountability on both ends. You know what I mean? Like, and like, there's going to be those like pinch hit situations where like you do need a response quickly. In that instance, like you would think that you can just make a phone call. Yeah. You know what I mean? That should be the standard. That it's like if it's that important, like you should be able to just make a phone call. And I feel like that should transcend in most businesses.
I
agree. We have created a culture, and I read something that was talking about how people can't take vacations anymore, and they're actually like working on something in Europe where like when you're gone, your email like halts basically. It doesn't just like send out like this like generic auto response that says, hey, I'm so and so is going to be back, blah blah, contact so and so if you need immediate assistance. But then your emails still pile up, so you come back from a vacation or you feel like you have to check your email the whole time you're on vacation.
Absolutely.
They're working on software to basically create a situation for people so that mentally we can have a space where we can actually get away.
But it's our responsibility to do this. We're all big adults that can think for ourselves. We need to find a way, don't you think?
I do, but I think technology advanced in such a way that like our expectation of each other and of the world advanced with it.
We did it though.
And I think that like we've created a situation where it has become very difficult to step away from, whether it's day-to-day life, like used to be, like I remember when we went on our honeymoon, it was like we like made a really big point of like we're not going to answer our phones for like this week, and like it was the first time like we had like not been in communication with like friends, family, whatever, for just a whole week, and it was really nice. And I feel like now that would be almost impossible.
No question about it. And I struggle with this every day, and I just literally I'm not a big vacation person anyways, but I work a 24/7 job, and it's self-inflicted. I'm not blaming anybody. This is just my life. You throw this show on top of it all, I am often overwhelmed. I have my priorities right. My career is absolutely first, but at the same time, the level of communication never stops. It just keeps coming, and it's tough. I will tell you. I mean, and again, I'm not in my 30s, right? I mean, I say that. It's funny, but I say it because I look around and people that I know grew up with, I'm living a pretty dynamic life, an act of doing new things in an age right now where a lot of people my age that I know are starting to slow down or starting to play with their grandkids or their new grandkids or things. So they're at a different place in their life, although we're the same age. So I'm trying to compete and keep up with folks that are younger with me, and I love it. But it comes at a price, and I think at times it's why I have no hair. I pulled it all out. But I think that I'm not. I can't sit here and say that I do everything great. I mean, I will tell you, I'm the first one to say that I'm not a great manager of technology. It's not serving me as it probably should. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, well, functionally, what technology has made possible, I think, is good. The effect that it has had on our lifestyles and our culture, it's debatable whether that's good, You were talking about the constant communication, being able to get in touch with someone right away, and then multiple conversations. And a lot of times, especially when you get in where these conversations are related and you're kind of,
there can be some embarrassing moments there, mixing them up.
You got to watch that. But I think in a certain way, you and I are in similar roles professionally because we end up being like the communication hub for a lot of different.
No doubt.
There's a lot of moving pieces. There's a lot of things going on, and people keep coming to you. And so this piece of information pertains to this conversation over here. And so you're almost like a switchboard connecting these different people in these different roles with all these moving parts and these different components, and they all need to fit together in different ways. And I think, for me, I like that. I think it's great. But I think it almost creates this digital world where you need, it's like the Matrix. You need to hop in there and get your shit done and multitask the shit out of whatever you're doing, because it creates the potential for you to get a lot more work done.
Yeah.
It creates potential for getting much less work done, and that's where the management comes in, staying organized. And in my job, what kills me is I like being able to start something and finish it.
Yeah. I miss
move on
that.
to something else.
I miss that.
How rarely I get to do that in my job, because this comes up and then, this comes up and this takes priority. This comes up and this takes priority, and I have to be able to prioritize. I can't be like, this is really important and it needs to happen right now, or something's going to get messed up in the field on one of my jobs.
Yeah.
But I really want to finish what I'm doing over here. Like some days at the end of the day, I will go to close my computer out and it'll be like, you have 17 windows open that are preventing your computer from shutting down right now, and I have to go back and look and be like, okay, I got to finish this tomorrow.
And we're doing it wrong because we can't do those 17 things effectively all at the same fucking time.
No,
you know what I mean?
And I don't know about but I mean, I got to imagine it in certain instances it's the same for you. Sometimes you're in the middle of something and this just has to happen now.
I know.
It's a priority thing. It came in right away. This person,
but too many of them are for me.
Need me, right?
And I'm creating that.
This person needs my support, and it has to happen right now. I have to be able to prioritize, because in my job, so many, I can just create this train wreck of all these things that I don't want to happen. That's eventually going to make my life harder, make my job harder, or lose my company money.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I just have to be able to prioritize. This is more important. It's a pain in the ass. It is. But it also creates the potential for being able to get a lot more work done. And for me, I'm good at multitasking. I kind of thrive on stress in a lot of ways. I think for me, having this capability to be answering emails and to be working on something in a Word document, and I've got a bunch of Excel files open.
Well, you love the activity. You thrive off the activity.
Yeah, I'm crazy. You know what I mean? Like all this energy. Like seriously, because if I don't do something with all this energy, it's not like me if I'm laid off like for a week. I'm like, this is vacation. 2 weeks. I'm staying up till 5 in the morning. Like I'm not getting up till 3. I'm not living a productive lifestyle.
Give it 20 years, you'll slow down.
Yeah, I know everybody does, but for me, like I have all this energy. I need to focus it because I'll work all day long, and then I'll come home and I'll start working on music, and I'll have different things going on. I always have a lot of things going on in my life, so I think it's.
And
for
just
me,
be productive, constantly be productive.
Yes. For me, it's cool that I have this, and I have this ability to be connected to all these different people doing all these different things and multitasking and all these different functions. And when it's clicking and it's going well, it's cool. I like it. You know what I mean? And when I'm focused and things are clicking, I can get a lot of shit accomplished.
Right. Agreed.
But then for
but
me,
if shit goes bad on a couple projects at one time,
yeah,
that affects all the other shit.
When I first took over this job, I left not stressed out. I had adrenaline pumping through my veins at the end of the day, and I was like, "Is this normal?" And the guy who trained me and whose job that I ended up taking when he left, he recently came back, and he's my boss now, and he's like, he can commiserate because the job. He's like, I know what it's like. He's like, I'd be leaving and I'd be going to the blood pressure machine. He's like, I'd have this pain in my chest and I'm not that old a guy. He's like, and I go to the blood pressure machine and it's like, you have the beginnings of hypertension, huh? That's not good. So, yeah. And I think, whether you go to that extreme or not, I think that's the situation that a lot of people are in, whether it's just your social life or whether it's half professional and half personal, whether it's just your interests online. Plenty of people are into groups and different things. They share their lives with people online. I think it's good, however you utilize it, to be able to be connected. But then I think it's important to be able to step back from that, because what I notice is I might be just sitting there. I'm not talking about at a bus station where there's nothing to look around at and I might as well be doing something on my phone. But out in nature or on a car ride, and it's there's things to see. I can just experience the world.
Right.
But I naturally want to grab this thing and just start scrolling. For me, it's Facebook, and it becomes a compulsive thing. And it's I think it gets to the point with a lot of people where we're plugged into this digital world all the time.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. I think that's when it becomes unhealthy, and it really becomes an impulse thing, a compulsive action, reaction. And if I'm bored, I can pick up Facebook, or I can start
that way,
looking at sports. Well, yeah, Julie, you were telling me that they have the people who design casinos actually design social media sites, and it's easy to get sucked in. And it's not just about I'm sucked into this game. I'm playing Candy Crush too much. I think
it's the whole thing. It's the physical.
They say
aspect
that actually,
of it.
you should rearrange your apps on your phone frequently because you'll get in this mind loop where it's email, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, freaking whatever, Zillow.
Do you have when you work with a client? Do you benefit from the fact that you need to give that client that half an hour, depending on what you're doing there? And then you can complete it and then move on to the next one? Or do you feel yourself multitasking during the day in what you do?
Yeah, I like to hone in on them. Mm-hmm. So I like to spend a lot of time with them. Mm-hmm. I feel like if I get too distracted, and actually with the pandemic, that's kind of helped a lot because we still have to be at 50% capacity. So we haven't been able to.
You can't stack appointments the same way.
Yeah. And not that when that's what we do. So when we stack appointments, and I probably see 10 people a day. You're used to that, but it's definitely. I would rather put as much energy and focus into one person, than juggle multiple people. Yeah. And I think that's another thing with the phones and the computers and things like that. People will message you and they don't realize if I'm working a 10-hour day, I might not get back to you until I might not even be able to check my phone.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I try not to because this thing just does too much.
Well, yeah,
you know what I mean? It can easily distract me. I might go to answer a text, but I'll have notifications for this, that, the other thing.
I'll put my phone down and be like, wait, I didn't even do the thing that
I know. Oh,
so a lot of times I'm I don't even want to look at it because I want to just focus on my day and get through it. Mm-hmm. And then, after seeing 10 people a day and you're really trying to put a lot into that.
You're spent.
Yeah. So a lot of times at the end of the day, I'm I just need to go home and sit in the dark and stare at a wall. I don't want to have
I don't
want to
be stimulated.
I need to unplug.
Yeah.
I've definitely had that feeling. And then some people feel like you don't want to talk to them. And it's just I don't want to talk to you on here now. I just need to be in a room and chill and be in the real world for a while. And that's where I worry about the generation that didn't have not just pre-internet, but pre-devices, pre-personal devices.
Pre-social media.
I have to mention something because it's a cheeky little anecdote. I told Julie,
That's a cheeky little
It's
anecdote.
a cheeky little anecdote. When I was younger, I had this idea that when we grew up, and I probably got the idea from like
remember this.
Inspector Gadget because he had the watch where he could see Penny.
Thought
You know
about
what
that
I mean?
in so long.
We had Dick Tracy. But I
Right,
go back a
the
ways.
Dick Tracy
Yeah, I
watch.
remember that
right.
too.
But so I probably borrowed the idea, but I did have this idea that in the future we would all have these communication devices. We'd be able to get in touch with anyone at any time. Always, you'd always have this communication. And I always pictured the Mr. Gadget,
Yeah.
Inspector Gadget.
Which
thing.
people have now.
True, but that's what I mean. Like, it was weird. I looked back at that. I was like, that's so weird. Like, we do have that. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah.
The Who wrote a song in the late '60s. Or Townsend wrote a song for the band The Who. It was called Relay, and he did not produce this song for consumption till like the late '80s, early '90s. But that song predicted the internet in an uncanny way. If you look at the lyrics of that song, it freaks me out every time I hear it. But Townsend had that thing where, you know, like I think there's been moments in time. He talked about Brave New World. You know, you mentioned that in the last podcast, and I've had that come up twice on 2 other podcasts since. And I need to dive into that. Somehow that just
It's pretty good.
completely missed it. But there have been times in history, I think, where people have looked into the future, and we must have been trending toward this, right? Even before the internet hit. The fact that we're rushing through society and we're getting quicker and quicker and quicker. We're demanding more immediacy constantly.
Yep.
Well, and if you think about how business was done before we had a device that could do all this that pretty much everybody had access to, you know, people were still trying to do the same thing. You know what I
Yes.
mean? They were still trying to create the same kind of situation, but they just didn't have the technology to do it.
Right.
And, you know, again, like, I think it's interesting because I'll listen, like, the one podcast I was listening to that was talking about, like, task switching and all that stuff. It's like, it's a nice idea, but, like, I'm also someone that, like, I do kind of thrive on multitasking. It's part of what appealed to me about setting up shows because there's a lot of moving parts, and it's, like, something that, like, my mind likes having, like, this. And, you know, that there are studies that have been done that say that people that are really good at multitasking are not always very good at focusing, and, you know, maybe it's a sign of, like, ADHD or whatever. I think that there's just different types of people. Like, I think different people thrive in different kinds of environments, and, like, I also think that, like, it's beneficial for every type of person to try communication styles that aren't comfortable to them.
No doubt.
And so, like,
No doubt.
even though for me, like, I'm someone that, like, I don't necessarily like being overly still. Like, I tried doing yoga for years, and I did practice yoga very consistently for probably about 3 years. And I don't love the practice because I don't like being still. But I do try to find ways to integrate that philosophy into my life in small doses, because I know that that's not necessarily something I want to do regularly, because it's just it's like such an exhausting practice to me. But like, I recognize that there are aspects of it that are good for me, and so I do try and kind of like put that into my life, and I try and put that into my life in, you know, my communication styles and things that I do. And like, I do try and encourage myself to do something from start to finish once in a while, because I like doing a lot of different things at the same time. It feels good to me.
Right.
And sometimes I'm most productive doing things that way. Like, if I can spend a whole like afternoon at home by myself, I can get a lot done. And if you would walk in the middle of it, it doesn't like I'm doing anything. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, it's like literally like I'll have like, you know, I'll start 80 different cleaning projects, and I'll be in like the middle of 3 different conversations, and sometimes I'll stop and I'll talk on the phone while I'm doing stuff, and then like, but then by the end of like that like 6 to 8 hour stretch of like having that stretch to just like, I'll have the whole house clean, I'll have like, you know, straightened up all of my like bills, and I'll have the email all cut up, and
Oh, I
I'll have,
get
you know
it.
what I mean?
I
And
get
then
it.
it feels
All those
really
tabs
good.
are open.
Yeah. But it's like, you rarely get those like catch up days, but those are my favorite days. Like, those days where I'm like super productive, but I can kind of do it in my own way. Like, it feels really good to me. And so I think that there's like a possibility that like this is leading us in a direction that could be really beneficial for like, you know, people as a whole. But I think it's learning how to, like I said, create boundaries
And balance.
and balance. Yeah.
Balance is important.
And be intentional with
Yeah.
social media and communication and everything, instead of letting it control us.
Right.
And questioning, like, what am I getting out of this? What is this? Like, sometimes I just want to scroll Facebook.
Yeah.
But once it goes past, and I mean, if I've had a long day and I'm just trying to like zone out, you know what I mean? Just like, mindless.
I want to read some memes.
Yeah, there's some memes. Like, I do like memes.
Me too.
I'm not gonna lie.
Jerry has spent like entire
I do like
evenings
memes.
making
I do
memes.
like memes.
He'll get an
we
idea.
can talk all kind of shit on social media, but I like memes.
They're just like a nice little piece of candy, you know, like
They
just
are.
Yeah, and you can
brain
share
candy.
You share it with your friends. Yeah.
Yeah.
Share
Yeah.
with your friends.
Yeah, it's good. I feel so. If I get a good meme and I'm like, this person's really gonna like this,
it
and I send
reminds
to
me
them,
of somebody.
and they like send back like a really enthusiastic emoji. I'm like,
Yeah.
yes.
Talk shit on social media all you
some
want,
funny
but
shit,
memes
man.
are awesome.
Memes are
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, social media I think is great. I think it is
Has
more
the potential to be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more how I think, you know, we have to.
That's how you use it.
Yeah, that's what separates us from the animals. I think a lot of the time,
It's
being
social
like-
media. Them
is
dogs
that
do not
we-
have a social media.
They're on social media.
is controlling how we, you know, setting boundaries, having balance.
I would
You know,
agree.
being intentional with how we use it as opposed to,
I agree.
you know.
Yeah, what am I getting out of this? I try and ask myself that. Once I've
Yeah.
gone past 15, 20 minutes, like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just wasting time. It's a black hole that just swallows time up. And especially when I'm just like mindless.
sometimes that's okay.
Barely even, sometimes, yes, that's
Yeah.
what I mean. Like
Yeah.
if it's 15, 20 minutes, but when it goes on to like, some people like go and look to see how much time they spend on social media. I'll be honest, I spent way too much time on social media before I got so busy with work.
Everybody does. We all do.
Way too much. Way too much. Probably like 2 hours a day if you would add it all up.
But the thing is, you know, it's people don't want to admit this. They want to slag social media, but look, it's fucking fun.
It is.
Yeah,
To see you,
yeah.
to connect with all these people. Hopefully, you like a lot of them. Some you probably are laughing at.
Yeah.
But you know, it's the vehicle that connects. The problem is going to be the level of connection and how we let that dictate the way we live now.
Yeah,
Well,
and
and
I
how
think
you
it's
let
how
it
you
control
use it
your
too.
internal monologue too. Like, and
Good point.
we talked
Yeah.
about like, you know, just like last podcast we were talking about like, you know, the eating disorders and like body image and all that kind of stuff. It's one thing, like, I mean, it's one thing to get inspiration from like different like, you know, models and like makeup ideas or like home interior design
Right.
ideas. Like, it's one thing to kind of like just find things that are like, oh, like I really like that, and like, but then it's another thing to like internalize that to, if I don't look like that, then I'm not doing my job properly, or if I'm
Right.
not like, you know, if I can't afford like the best you know, designer sheets and all this stuff, whatever. But like if
High thread count.
I know. But like whatever, like if I'm not like meeting these lifestyle expectations, then something's wrong with me, or that
Right.
I'm like, you know, if
Right.
my relationship doesn't check all these boxes that like Cosmo says it should, or
Right.
you know,
Yep.
if my job isn't providing this level of satisfaction this article says it should, and
Right.
all these little things that like social media really taps you into just the cultural conversation.
No question.
And I think that if you're not like a discerning enough consumer that you can understand like, hey, this is good for me, this is bad for me, like I don't need to follow this anymore if it's causing this kind of emotional duress, or I don't need to engage in this kind of conversation if it's getting me so angry. And that's like
Exactly.
the debate kind of
Exactly.
thing too. Like, I don't think it's terrible to debate with people online as long as you're not like letting it.
As long as you don't let them win.
That too. Yeah, that's important.
You need to win. and
Yeah, as
then
long as
it's
people.
fine.
You want
as
the
long
award,
as
damn it. I want the award.
At the end of the conversation, as long as people know that the McRib is disgusting.
Sometimes debating people online, I used to say it sharpens my sword.
I remember you said that.
Yeah. If you get into a good debate, not you're an idiot, blah, 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 and a bunch of insults, but when someone really has a well thought out argument and you're going head to head and it's respectful, I mean, you're going at each other, but you're not insulting each other.
Yeah.
Like, it would, I don't know, I called it
It's called
sharpening.
dialogue.
Debate, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? And that's the thing. People don't debate as much as they just sling mud on social media. But sometimes I've gotten into good conversations with people, you know, and I had a really good debate. And sometimes it made me rethink my position on things.
Of course.
I don't see a ton of that going on social media.
But there's
it
also
is
not
there.
a lot of people like you that are
Thank God
okay
for that.
with letting their platform go. Like they have to plant their feet.
Well, they're married to their opinion.
Yeah.
Even when they know they're wrong, they're married to their
Yeah.
opinion, which that doesn't help the dialogue.
Yeah.
The
Sure.
narrative.
Because what's the point? Like, I'm not going to change your mind. You're not going to change my
well,
mind.
Okay, so
there's no point.
But if you're not humble enough to admit when you're wrong or
Sure.
when you could possibly see another point or whatever,
Sure.
if you're not humble enough to do that, and or on the converse, if you're the furthest thing from that and you know you're wrong, you've been proven you're wrong, but you get married, but you're married to your stand on that hill, and then you go fight for something that you intrinsically know is wrong, which I think happens a lot in politics. We're fighting for things because that's our team's mantra, but inside you're going, holy fuck, this has been proven to be incorrect for like 20 different times in my face for the last 2 weeks, but fuck that, I'm going to go rah for my team, rah, rah, rah. That inability to be humble with other people is really, I think, at the crux of where we're failing.
Yeah, and if you
You
get
know?
into that kind of conversation where I'm just going to prove I'm right, I'm going to prove you're stupid, I'm going to prove you're wrong, like I'm going to prove you're an idiot. If you're not trying to create an actual back and forth conversation and you're just there to beat somebody over the head with your opinion,
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It just sounds like a lot of ego to me. You're not
You're
out there
right.
changing people's mind. You're not winning hearts and minds. You're not making the world a better place. I mean, if we talked about something earlier, talked about the cancel culture thing, and you could debate that all day long. But if you look, imagine the amount of activity as like, potential energy, kinetic energy. I don't know enough about physics to say. But it's energy, right?
Right. It's also time.
Regardless of which side of the argument
Right.
you are on,
Right.
if most of the people involved in the argument of something as simple as cancel culture, whether you're fighting for people to have their ability to express their opinions or whether you're fighting for people expressing views and opinions that are in line with an inclusive society, if you spend a quarter of the time that a lot of us spend arguing online, actually going out into the real world and going and doing something to further your cause and helping the people you pretend to care about, imagine all that energy and what it could accomplish,
No doubt.
because
Right.
it is accomplishing almost nothing.
Yeah.
It is a fraction of zero.
Yeah.
What you're accomplishing expressing your opinion online, regardless of which side of the argument you're on. If you would put a quarter of that energy into going and doing something in your life and maybe helping change the life of someone else who you are online talking about how much you care about, you know what I mean?
No.
Most of it, it's ego. It's your
Yes.
ego.
Of
course.
You're right. I'm right. I want to be right. Who doesn't want to be right? You have a different opinion than me. My first thought is I want to be right. But is there an opportunity?
Why does it matter, though?
I don't know why,
get
but it
that.
does. I do want to be right. I like being
I
right.
agree. I hate being wrong.
Maybe I'm a jerk. I do like
no,
it.
I totally agree with you because honestly, like,
I like being
it
right.
happens to me once in a while. Not a lot, but every now and then I'm wrong.
But look, in the heat of battle, there's a moment like you said where you're like, "Oh shit, I think I'm wrong."
Yeah.
Well,
Like, are we
it
so
happens
above
a
that?
lot.
Like,
Because who
are we
doesn't
so-
think? Like, if I knew I was wrong from the start, why would I open my mouth?
Right, but I think it happens a lot, and I think people get married to their opinion, or they're
Right.
embarrassed
Yeah.
to pull back from their opinion because they've let that ego go so far. It's just you gotta. I mean, you don't have to do anything. I'm just saying. So we were talking today earlier in a podcast that I was with Scott Burke on this afternoon, and we were talking about philosophy. And I told him that I was served many years ago by a business mentor named Jim Rohn. You may have heard this story. You're not invited enough, so that's why you wouldn't have heard it, right?
I could actually watch the show.
The point is, I learned early on that I had to figure out what my personal philosophy was. That's a tough thing to tell a 25-year-old. It's like personal philosophy, 25 years old, like, what, drink beer on the weekends? What was the personal philosophy? But it's over time, I've tried to determine what I believe. And like 4 or 5 years ago, I kind of crafted it even further, parsed it down. I basically say this. I want to start every interaction with humility. I want to lead with humility, right? And I want to do active listening. Once I have that humility, I want to actively listen to the person I'm engaging, right? And at that point, I want to seek understanding so that I'm understanding what I'm hearing. And if I don't understand it, I want to seek it. I mean, stay in that mindset until I do have some understanding. And then in the end, I just want to find common ground. I want to have humility, You know, I want to lead with humility, and in the end, I want to find common ground. That's my roadmap to every human interaction. At least I try in every aspect, because that has served me well, and quite frankly, it's helped me make a pretty good life that I probably never thought I would have. You know, but it's that mindset. That's my personal philosophy. But I will tell you, if you were to ask the average person on the street, what the fuck do you believe? Can you articulate that in a paragraph? The average person, not that they're dumb or they're not nice people or they're not kind. They haven't spent any time thinking about it, you see.
You're really putting
And-
somebody
and-
on the spot there,
Yeah.
too, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Just to ask them that
it's
point
a great,
blank.
It's a great question, because had it
is.
not been asked of me,
Yeah.
I would not have the life that I have today.
Sure.
And not that my life is that great. I'm just saying I'm in
To
a
have some
comfortable
direction.
Right, for a kid who was very rudderless, I didn't have any direction. That gave me something to grab onto, and believe me, my first personal philosophy when I wrote it down was in a journal page. It was like 3 pages long. All the things I believe to be true. Probably none of that's even relevant anymore if I go back and look at it. But over time, and being adaptable to change and all that stuff. But man, if you don't know what the fuck you believe, how can you go forward, right? And I think that the problem is, the Republican platform, if you can figure that what that is, that's too absolute. The Democratic platform is too absolute. You got to be willing to be in the middle, and you got to be willing to pull from everything, right? To figure out what you believe. And then in the end, just understand that, you're going to change. Life's going to change. You're going to meet people. You're going to be turned on by things you hear. Be adaptable. Mm-hmm. And it's humility, and people don't want to do that, man.
But
I don't understand why.
Some people may look into, if they actually study rather than just look at cable news, and find out they're like, you know what? I am really just fiscally conservative person, like it's what I believe. Or people might be like, you know what? I truly believe in the Democratic platform, and I absolutely identify. But
Sure.
Understand why you are identifying. There was something that you I think you brought up, belonging to different groups, you know what I mean, and seeking identity through groups. Do you identify with a group because you really believe what they believe and because you're all about the mission, or are there more superficial reasons? And I think so many of us are guilty for that, where we get pulled into the superficial reasons for why we are identifying with one group or another.
No doubt.
I think if you... And the other thing that you mentioned, you're like, what do I believe as a person? I'm going to steal from a movie. It was Dogma, Kevin Smith, and it was Chris Rock's character, and he was talking about beliefs. He was like, beliefs are dangerous. He was like, people die for them, people kill for them, He said, now an idea, it's a little different, you know what I mean? Like, when you believe something, I believe it, it's absolute. Like, you know what I mean? My mom told me this, and I think that's a lot of what it comes down to, is why do you think the way you think? Why do you believe the way you think? I think many times it has way more to do with emotional, psychological reasons than like logic, that I look at the world and I see it this way. And that's what I was talking about. Someone's
good point.
Illusions. If you talk to someone and you get a look at their logical brain, but then you look at some of their core beliefs, and that's where I talk about, like, you can kind of, not to be a dick, but fuck with someone a little bit, you know what I mean? Because they have this core belief. And then you start talking to them about their logical way and they see the world, and you suddenly bring that full circle with this core belief, and you're like, but you literally just told me you see X, Y, and Z, and you've come up with this conclusion. That's incompatible with this core belief you expressed to me. And I think our core beliefs really come down a lot of times to... My mom and dad taught me this. Like, someone who was influential in my life at an early age taught me this. You know what I mean? Like, this helped shape me as a human being, and it was maybe much more emotional than anything that has to do with, like, I don't know, like with, like I said, the cerebral concept of reality and what we truly think is right. It has more to do with what helped shape me as a person. And I think if we look at it like that, instead of fighting with each other and being like, well, you're an idiot and you're wrong and what you said is stupid, like, we just have very little... Because you were like, well, is revenge a big thing? I think there's a component of that. I think what it really comes down to is we don't have a lot of compassion for one another anymore. You know what I mean? You make a mistake, you're a fucking idiot.
Why? And why is that?
I don't know. I don't have that
I think I know.
Well,
I think it's because again, I keep driving it home. It's the word humility.
Yeah.
We don't have it, man.
But why?
We know,
let's take it a step
but
further.
we know
Why?
what it is.
Yeah.
We won't practice it.
But why?
Because it goes directly against the selfish nature of the human condition.
Do you think it's gotten worse? Because we keep coming on this. Is it worse now than it was? Like, is it the same as it was?
I think it's more visible.
It's
and
more
I think,
visible.
And that I think
Yeah.
is where a lot of people kind of get stuck in the idea of like this progression of these types of things, is because I do feel like a lot of what we've discussed throughout the whole, evening has been about the human condition. And I think that these things are like inherent. Like, I do think that there is an element, like what you were saying, as far as, your core beliefs being more emotional in nature. And then you have to understand, I think, is whenever you're getting in these like hot debates with people and you start challenging their beliefs, it's not just an idea that they're letting go of, it's like a piece of themselves.
No
Yeah.
doubt.
Right.
Yeah. Why are you getting angry? We're talking about an idea.
Right.
And that's where I said ideas
Or is
can
it just
change.
they don't want to be wrong?
That's
Yeah,
the
it's
ego's
like-
part of it. It is.
Yeah,
It
but I
is.
think that there is a fundamental part of like, if something is like so much a part of your makeup that like you are so attached to it, and I do think that Jerry, you brought a good point up of like when we're developing who we are and like kind of like starting to identify and wanting to kind of like whether it's joining a group or whatever, there's the more subtle aspect of that is like almost like following a trend, and like what becomes trendy and as far as like almost like thoughts, you know what I mean, like
Right.
the general opinion, you know what I mean. And right now I think it's very apparent what certain accepted opinions are supposed to be, and not all of them are wrong. That's the thing, is like we talked about, like these ideas of like cancel culture and all this stuff is like, well, is it wrong to basically want to maybe not silence completely, but to
remove the platform from someone who's abusing
Yeah.
it.
exactly. That's not wrong. You know what I mean? It's not wrong to want to try to like, create a culture and a conversation that is less bigoted and,
Absolutely.
more inclusive and more open-minded. It does become difficult when you don't know where the line is drawn, and then when the ideas become so much more polarizing that people start to, if I don't identify with this side of things and I can't accept the entire ideology, and I don't maybe understand and accept all of this ideology, but this feels more culturally comfortable to me, then it becomes more of a situation of like, people, like we talk about like, and like I'll just throw it out there, like, we're talking about like they're trying to take all the Trump icicles or whatever.
Icicles.
the ice rinks or
rinks.
whatever.
Yeah.
There's a huge part of the population that voted for him, and I think a lot of it isn't so much
And
about
there's a huge part of the population that really enjoys ice skating.
exactly.
I haven't met any of those people yet, but I hear they're out there.
Well, either way, and it's not to defend whether who you vote for or whatever else, but I'm
Right.
just saying that like if you just look at America, like there's about I don't know what the actual population breakdown is, but there are so many people that live in big cities that are predominantly Democratic and all this kind of stuff, and then there's a lot of areas that are just farm country, and they might represent like a more conservative viewpoint on certain things, but it doesn't always become a Democratic Republican thing.
No.
To the average person, it's a lot less about political ideology and more about what feels familiar and comfortable, and
Yes.
that kind of comes
Cultural.
down.
It's more
Right.
cultural.
And that comes down to what we were talking about as far as like, people being inclined to seek what they're familiar with. And whether it's not so much about whether that's like morally right or wrong, it's just a fact. Is that like when you find people that you identify with, it's more comfortable. And a lot of people are not actually comfortable
Talking
challenging
about that, right.
their challenging their views, challenging their
Right.
just
Totally
what
agree.
feels normal to them.
Totally agree.
And we don't have to take everybody out of their comfort zone.
Yeah.
We have to try as a society. I think it's part of our like duty and responsibility to be kind to one another and to teach tolerance. And I think there's a lot of teachable moments happening right now. But I also feel like the fact that they've like basically just like stigmatized Southern accents and farming, like how, like that's a huge part of our country,
just-
and like there's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with it, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, and it's a
it's
shame that like people that like live in different cities think that like that's an indicator of someone that's like
What's a
not
stereotype?
not
It's a
educated.
ridiculous stereotype.
Yeah.
Because
Maybe even you're racist because you have a southern accent. You know what I mean?
And it's-
someone hears like you're from Alabama. It's like, oh, you got to be racist. Like I've literally heard people, especially Northerners who are liberal, who automatically assume like you're from Alabama, you're white, you're racist.
it's
And
just-
and
just like,
it's just not true. Like,
dude,
it's
what is inclusive about that concept? Like,
Yeah.
where the hell did you come up with that?
Well,
I get where you came up with it, but where do you fit it into this ideology of including everyone and being fair to everyone?
Right.
Like, and you
and
touched
not
upon
making prejudices basically on
right,
people.
prejudging people.
Yeah.
Oh, but you touched upon something where you said like the idea of cancel culture. There's a spirit, there's an idea there that makes sense. You can argue about where the line is, but I think there's ideas that make sense and they're reasonable and they're rational and they are grounded in, look, there's a reason behind this.
Right.
But that's one particular facet. Now, when you have a whole revolution, and I'm going to expose my ignorance here because I love philosophy. I got no one commented on my Metaphysica shirt.
I love that
Pretty
shirt.
badass.
Yeah, I don't know who the fuck is on that shirt. I think
Epictetus, my favorite's
that's
on that shirt.
probably Aristotle.
Copernicus?
Epictetus.
Copernicus.
Epic-
No.
Epictetus is on the upper.
Cornucopia.
I think he's on the upper right.
Is Aristotle on there?
Plato?
Plato's probably on there. Is
I think
Socrates
Plato's-
on there?
I don't know the dude with the funny hat in the bottom. I'm not sure
Right
who
on.
he is.
So I don't know shit. But I know that I think it might have been Descartes. Again, I don't know shit.
He's not on there.
I click on the idea. No. But I'm bringing up a.
Yeah.
No, I knew that they're not old enough to be Descartes. But we were talking about the French, so I'm going to say it's Descartes, even if it wasn't Descartes. Someone can
Sorry.
come
Is
on your show.
For the show.
Someone can come in the comments and talk angrily about what an idiot I am and how I shouldn't voice any of my opinions because I'm stupid. But I don't know that it's Descartes. I don't know that it's Descartes. Someone's probably going to come in the comments and tell me
Of course. It's
I'm
the
an uneducated
interwebs, man.
fool.
But if they're French, they're probably nice.
We don't read the.
We.
Never read your comment. If you're going to post a video, especially.
That was good. That was good. We. I just did a wee.
Wait, aren't they rude? Wait, I just remembered this. Aren't the French known for being rude? But quietly rude.
That's another stereotype.
Because we're the ugly Americans. That's why.
But anyway, I
Okay.
think it was Descartes.
Back to
It
Descartes.
basically said the revolution comes in and it's just a new form of madness. You know what I mean? The old way of thinking, the traditional way of thinking, it was outdated and it was obsolete. And so the revolution comes in and everyone catches on to it and it sweeps like fire. And it's really just a new form of madness.
Interesting.
And when you have an idea might make a lot of sense. It might be a good idea. But when you have like this whole, like Jolie was saying, this whole culture that I identify with that
Right.
has all these different connotations and ideas and beliefs, all these other boxes. I checked this box, all these other boxes better be checked because we ruin the fucking idea. People are what ruin the idea because in that becomes, well, we got to give someone an award for thinking of the best fucking idea.
What a
right?
tie-in,
And
man.
we got to
I
have
know.
like the
Wrapping it all
popularity
up.
contest.
Bless
And
it
we
over
have this petty disagreement about, well, I'm better at this. And I'm not, no names, because I know Jolie knows what I'm talking about, but a friend of mine who's actually pretty liberal said, you know, the woke culture thing kind of becomes who's more woke? Like, who came up with the more
Competition that way,
intellectualized idea of, well, see, what you're doing is you're marginalizing this person by voicing this
Well,
opinion in this way. And
You can't fight fascism with fascism.
but an idea, okay,
That's
it
a
might-
good way to put it.
Yeah, right. But an idea might make a lot of sense, and it might be a good idea. But when you get into a whole culture, a whole way of thinking that involves people and people's egos and people's feelings, good feelings and bad feelings, it gets to the point where the original idea behind it can get
it's diluted.
can get distorted, and basically,
Distorted's a better word.
I think whether it doesn't matter what broad whole culture of people, when it's a culture that's based around a movement or an idea.
It gets co-opted by people with different agendas.
And there you go. And what always happens? Come on, it's as old as time. The institution gets taken over and corrupted by money, by people who are able to use it not just to make money, but to influence other people in order to
money's the tool.
to influence other people so that you can basically have control over others, whether you use it for influence or power or money.
Any group that any group of people that get together that want to tell another group of people that they can't do something for any reason, someone's offended, whatever, it doesn't matter. You got to be careful. You got to be careful because the initial intentions were to be kinder and gentler and to protect the innocent. All that stuff, under the guise of all that good stuff, comes the fascism. When it's left unchecked, the group gets too much power. They become the arbitrator of right and wrong, the arbitrator of acceptable and non-acceptable, and the arbitrator of hurt feelings and non-hurt feelings. When they are calling all the shots and they continue to grow, then they become what they're trying to stop.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that's, you just look at American history. It's just riddled with that. It's when the far left and the far right are so far and so wild and so wacky that they swing around and they fucking meet and they become one.
Well, and let's be fair. I mean, I just took a swipe at the far left. I mean, look at the entire history of religion and what's been done with it. You have a religion that's based around the ideas of one person or a group of people who are deeply spiritual, who typically are all about enlightenment and helping people who are in unfortunate circumstances and being fair and seeking truth. And then it becomes an institution. And then it becomes about manipulating people and guilting people and controlling people and then
currency and
fucking
money
torturing people. You know what I mean?
power.
Like, in the name of God, we're going to torture you. You know what I mean? Like, that is so far away from the original.
Well, it's humans wanting control over other humans. You want humans to do. One group of humans wants another group of humans to do what they say.
Sure, that's what I mean. It starts with a good idea, but then it turns into a whole, whether you want to call it a movement or a culture, it evolves into something else. Right. And I don't think it's necessarily just because people get involved with it. I think there are individuals who find a way to manipulate other individuals to get what they want. And that's the part that I don't know if you can evolve beyond that. You're always going to have someone who has the bright idea. You know what? I can use something that you believe in, that you hold dear. I can see the cracks in you. I can see, because there's certain people who, you know, when you want to be technical, they're sociopaths, but they're very good at living outside of this reality that we're a part of. And they can look at somebody and they can see those core beliefs and they can see these ideas. And sociopaths are really good at picking people apart. They hack people like computers, you know what I mean?
They're like a robot.
And there are plenty of sociopaths running around, and they're not necessarily Hannibal Lecter sitting in a mental institution. Some of them are powerful people. They are really, some of them have genius level intelligence. And I don't like to get into the conspiracy theories and Team C, but it's just human nature. I mean, you see it on a small scale. Someone is trying to manipulate in this situation, and you can see they're angling to get what they want, and it comes out later, just like we were talking about the instant karma, where you're like, I told you this person was shady and up to no good. Like, when you see that on such a small level, do you think some of these individuals who have an unbelievable amount of wealth and power, they have so much money, they don't want you to know how much they have? Are you telling me that some of them are not using their pull and their influence?
Of course.
And we all know it, but to talk about it starts to make you sound like, oh, you're one of those tinfoil hat people that live in a tent. Right. And that's what I mean. I think it just comes down to, let's just acknowledge what we all know to be true, that human nature is that you're always going to have individuals who are attempting to use any situation to exploit it to their advantage.
It's the human condition.
Sure.
I hate to sound so fatalist about the way we're wired as a species, but it's time and time again proves it out. I mean,
well, and look what people like. You know, it's funny because it gets actually kind of like a bad rap now in like this, you know, new way of looking at things. But like they talk about like our savage DNA and all this kind of, you know what I mean? The fact that like, you know, we have these survivalist instincts that have, you know, been warped over time and that we don't really need anymore and all this kind of stuff. And you know, be that as it may, or maybe it's not, you know, who knows what the next stage of humanity is going to be. But I think the longer...
James knows.
Well, he probably does. I know. He knows more than he lets on. I just feel like it's the more we try and hide from our own, like, instincts in nature, like it's like kind of like that whole like history's doomed to repeat itself kind of situation, where if we're not willing to look at like the things about ourselves that maybe are less desirable, or you know, whether they're good or bad or indifferent, if if it is what it is, then you just have to be able to acknowledge it and then adapt and change and come at it from a humility or a place of humility, and not look at it as like, oh, like I'm so savage and I have these instincts and I can, pick out anybody.
Yeah,
and
the regression.
Yeah, or like just trying to bury your head in the sand and like not and just see the good in everybody all the time. Like there's a fine like line in between all that kind of stuff, and it's not bad to look at things that you might not like about yourself and just kind of like learn from them, and then make an educated decision on how you want to proceed. But we all want to whitewash everything. I don't know if that's like the proper term anymore.
You gotta have humility to do that, though. And you gotta be
you Julie touched on something too. I think people eventually, the more we progress and the smarter we get and the bigger our egos get, we want to be above what we are. You know what I mean? We want to be above what we are. And I know this is just my opinion. This is not me saying, well, I think that we should all accept. I don't think we're ever going to get to the point where we're no longer animals. We are animals. And some of us don't like that idea. We're like, no, we can progress beyond that. And I'm not saying it's like politically that it's the progressive standpoint.
Right.
Because if you look at religious people, they're like, well, we're above the animals. And God put us above the animal kingdom. And it's like, yeah, until you realize that they don't sell scissors in the checkout line anymore. There's a reason for that.
Good point.
Yeah, they do. You will never look at a checkout where you're at the register. You will never.
What do you
see,
mean I can't buy a pair of scissors in the checkout line?
You will never see a sharp object where people are going to get into a disagreement. Go ahead and look. There was and I don't know that it was like there was a memo that went out, but there was.
Who wrote the memo?
I can't remember. It was maybe 15, 20 years ago. A lady stabbed another lady with a pair of scissors, and I noticed since I read that, you're not going to see razor blades, well, they hide the razor blades now, but I've noticed, since I read about this story, I became interested, and I looked at the impulse buy. You're not going to see a pair of scissors there. And so that's how, as much as we've accomplished, and we've been to outer space, and we have, individuals have created companies, and we have all this incredible technology and the internet and all these accomplishments, we are still at the point where, it's not a great idea to put sharp things where people can reach them.
In high-stress situations like the checkout aisle.
Someone could cut in line in front of somebody else because it's easy to grab it and stab them. Like, as much as we get beyond where we started up here, where we're not cave people beating sticks together, there's a part of us that's instinctual, and it's a necessary part of ourselves, and they touch upon it in music. We were listening to Sad But True on the way over here. There's this part of us that's deep and instinctual, and I personally don't feel that we're ever going to get away from that. And I think when we try, that's the self-denial, that's the repression that creates all these messed up things where you just can't accept yourself for who you are. And I think that's when society goes to a bad place, because it's an ideal that we can't attain. And really, I don't see the value in attaining being beyond what we are, that we're imperfect, and that we have these instincts that are guided towards the individual surviving. It doesn't mean that I can't look out for you, but it means there's going to be a part of me that always looks out for me, because that's my survival on this earth.
How can you argue it? Based upon the observation of how we treat each other, how can you argue it? I
don't even know if it's so much about how we treat each other, though, but and this kind of circles back to some of the stuff that we've talked about as far as like, different political ideologies, is that like, I don't remember where I was reading, it was something about either communism or Marxism or something, where they like basically try to, from like birth, foster the idea that like the state is more important than the individual. And
Hitler did that too. Fascism.
Yeah, but
communism is that you give all the money to the state.
But the idea is that basically to try to almost like remove that instinct of.
I'm just saying it wasn't just communism. That was part of Nazi Germany too.
Totalitarian.
So there you go. So either way, like the point being that like, I think it's a very idealistic. Like you can flip that into like an idealistic point of view that like we should. Strive to look beyond ourselves and look to the greater good and look to community and look to the betterment of our species and our start on a small scale, what you can do locally, recycle, all these things.
Striving to be better today than we were yesterday.
Exactly. Like these are all really good ideals, but like removing the idea and seeing, especially like that there are powers that be that might be like intentionally trying to
Right.
get us to see, to like think beyond ourselves. I'm not going to say I don't think it's healthy, but at the same time, like I think that there is a necessary part of survivalism that's not a bad thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When it's not abused and when it's not like used to manipulate people, when it's not, you know, all I can hear is you crunching that fortune cookie.
Did you get a new one?
No, you didn't eat the other one that he
Okay.
had.
Okay.
I rationed mine.
See, now let's all steal Jerry's rations.
That's where my survival instincts came.
Did y'all have fun?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It was good.
This is it's definitely amazing. Definitely amazing. I can't believe you wonderful people give me this much of your time.
I can't believe you keep having us here.
I know. We love this place.
Yeah. Thank you for having us back.
No,
Again.
it's many more shows coming if you're game.
Absolutely,
Yeah, for sure.
100%.
Squad.
Yep,
I
we
love
like-
this group.
Yeah.
All right,
I like hanging out with
squad.
y'all.
You are officially dismissed until we reconvene again. Thank you so much. All right, friends, we are out.
Take it easy.
Yep.
Hello, you're listening to the Eric McKenna Project.